good there.
All right, we're live. We weren't watching the clock. We're sitting here chatting backstage, eating a little grub, and realized it was 8 o'clock already.
We weren't watching the clock. We're sitting here chatting backstage,
All right,
eating a little grub, and
I'm gonna mute you, Dave, until you get the background noise off. Oh wait, that's me. Where's it at? No, hello. Okay. Now it's coming from my screen. Now, how in the world is that happening?
All right, that seems to have straightened it out. That was really odd.
I'm going to try talking again and see if I echo. Okay. I think I fixed the problem. All right. All right. So anyway, yeah, sorry for the late start. We're all trying to get our gears together here with our devices back screen, and we were shooting the breeze and didn't realize it was 8 o'clock, and I'm sitting here still eating dinner. But anyway, welcome to Carnivore Talk. And tonight is our Monday night live, and it's open mic night as usual. And so you are more than welcome to join us on the screen. Just like we have Paul, Jeff, and David, which I can unmute you now, I'm sure. Let me do that. And there's a link pinned at the top of the chat in YouTube. And if you're not on YouTube, if you are on X or Facebook, I'm going to post it again right now. And you can use your mobile phone, you can use your tablet, you can use your laptop or computer, and you can join us on screen as we talk about the various benefits of a carnivore diet. In today's topic, we're going to talk about the decline of veganism. Not to bash veganism, but it is a statistical fact that veganism is on the decline, and we're going to discuss why. And a number of other things. And we usually go on till about 10:30 or 11 o'clock. If you have a question, we will answer it. In fact, we promise to answer every question that we see posted in the chat. Now, to make sure that we see it, start off with a Q or maybe a triple Q to make it stand out, and use a question mark at the end, and the software that we use will highlight it for us. And we also tend to run a bit behind in the comments. So we will eventually get to your question, but if you have to bail out for some reason and we're running behind and haven't got to your question yet, you can come back and watch it on the replay. We will answer your question, we promise. So it's good to see everybody here today on screen, and it's good to see everybody we have joined us in the comments so far. And how's the panel doing today? Let's start with David B this time. How are you today?
I'm good. Good. How are you guys?
Doing very good. So tell us how your week's been while I eat my last few meatballs.
It's been a good week, except Jeff, I don't know what happened, but you were telling us that you had kind of a chronic constipation, and I had a good handle on it. And this week, it was the worst I had ever had. And I mean, I was doing magnesium, and I always eat a lot of fat, and so I had to work it out. So anyway, all is good now, but I don't know. I think I changed one of my magnesiums, and I think I'm going to go back to the other one. So it's a learning experience. But other than that,
I probably jinxed you.
What?
I probably jinxed you.
No. I'm wondering if being 2 years in has anything to do with it. I know for me, I've had different changes over time. My body, how it reacts to things. So anyway, I'm going back to the it's the multi-magnesium. I can't think of the name of it, but it's different types of magnesium.
It's a complex.
Complex. That's the word I was looking for.
That's what I take. I take it's called Zentastic. I get it off of Amazon, and it's got magnesium, I think thorate, magnesium lactate, magnesium malate, and magnesium glycinate. But I take it because I want to absorb it. I don't take it because I want to help clear my bowels. But I think it's the magnesium citrate is what's really good for loosening the bowels.
That's what I take every day.
Yeah.
Supposed to be.
Yeah.
But
continue your magnesium discussion real quick. I forgot my phone. I'll be right back.
Sure. Well, I was taking it because I just eliminate the electrolytes so much. I will get bad night cramps. I know some people on carnivore, after a couple of years, they don't have that problem anymore. Well, I still do. So that's why I was taking it. And actually, sometimes I would get, I'd be like a goose. But that's a whole lot. That's a whole lot better than
In constipation.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
agree
can
with
relate.
you. So anyway, I said a prayer. I said, Lord, help me, and in Jesus' name, and He did. So I'm through that.
I found that my body has, I don't know if it's going through cycles or if as my body evolves in carnivore, things change. I don't know what to do because every time I think I got a handle on it, I'll be good for a while. I'll be doing this and I'll be good for a while. And all of a sudden I lock up again. Everything changes.
I hear you, brother.
And I'll try something different and it'll work for a while. And all of a sudden it doesn't work for a while. And so, right now my routine is I take 200 milligrams in the morning, 200 milligrams when I go to bed at night. And then one day out of the week, I'll take 400 milligrams in the morning and 400 milligrams at night. And so far, that's helping. But now I did something, you were talking about leg cramps. Now, if I get leg cramps, I'll get cramps in my hands as well as my legs. And, that's usually a sign for me that I'm low on electrolytes. So I'll slam some element down and it usually helps out. But what I get real bad is RLS. I've had it for years, restless leg syndrome.
Oh.
And most of it, more often than not, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be my left leg. And my left leg is the leg that I have prosthesis in. I've had a hip replacement in my left. And so, usually since I've been on carnivore, my RLS has been really mild enough I haven't had to take anything for it. Now, in the past, when my RLS was really bad, I would drink some tonic water, and the tonic water would help out. Last night, it was so bad, and it hasn't been this bad in a long time. It was so bad that I broke down and drank some tonic water, the last can of tonic water I had in the pantry. And I haven't been taking it because it's full of sugar. It's got a ton of sugar in it. And I was just desperate, and I said, I've got to do this. And my wife says, you're going to react to that sugar. I said, right now, I don't care, baby. I got to get this leg to stop jumping. And because I mean, seriously, I'm sitting in the recliner on my couch, and my legs jumping 3 feet off the couch. It's just that bad. And so I drank that tonic water, and within minutes it quit.
I've never had that.
And boy, I'll tell you what, this morning I was not constipated. That sugar ran through me like crap through a goose, as George Patton would have said. So, yeah, I'm not advocating that you take sugar, but yeah, it sure cleaned my system out this morning.
Yeah, let's see here. I can't take that much magnesium because of my kidneys. So hearing those amounts, and I know they say that men can take like 400 milligrams a day, but since I retain the magnesium, all I do is every once in a while I take a 60 milligram tablet, and usually I only do that if I didn't salt my food for dinner that day, because as long as I salt my food, I don't have an issue with cramps. But if I have a meal that I don't add salt to it, like tonight, I just wolfed down some meatballs, and I didn't add salt to it. So I'll probably take a magnesium when I go to bed, just a 60 milligram though, because my magnesium always runs high because I don't excrete it because of my kidneys. So when
even if it's citrate, because citrate isn't absorbed into the body supposedly. That's why it works as a laxative.
Yeah, no, I'm not taking the citrate, and I really don't have like constipation problems, or even if I do, I don't know. I'm just kind of patient, and I might feel like I didn't go at all, but then when I turn around and see that what I did, I'm like, ooh, there's a lot more there than I thought it was.
Well, considering the subject of our talk tonight, cue the vegans to come in and tell me how I need fiber to help move things along.
I'm sure someone before the evening gets too late will join us to tell us all that stuff. Yes. Okay.
Now, David, in your case, if I've got a bad case of it, which I haven't had a bad case in a while, but when I do, I keep some suppositories on hand, to help break things down on the exit end.
Yeah, I resorted to Fleet, and I keep those in
there.
there.
You go. Yeah, I've got a bottle of Fleet too. Yeah.
All right. Well, Paul, you've been quiet while they've had a nice discussion about.
Sorry, guys.
Hey, it's all part of the.
I stay real even.
Yeah. So how about you tell us how your week's been? Hopefully your signal's good again. How you doing?
I'm doing good. East Coast got hammered. My daughter was coming back yesterday from Rhode Island to Delaware, got stuck in North Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And she just got home a few minutes ago. And I guess they got pounded pretty bad. They went down to a dance competition, and there was a bunch of foreign judges there, and grandson wanted to get some experience in front of different judges. Not all judges are the same, I guess. So anyhow, but doing well, and I dropped 3 units of insulin off my dosage, and so going downward, and blood sugars staying in range. So I'm just taking it slow and easy, and I think, at least for me, and maybe it's because of the diabetes, I do best on a rhythm, eat about the same time every day, eat about the same amount of food every day. Don't do anything crazy, don't overload on any one food. Don't fast, But since I only eat one meal a day, it's like a 22-hour fast, so about what it works out to. So, and our bodies evolve, and I'm not who I was 5 years ago or 3 years ago or even a year ago. And things just change, but we dodged a bullet. We only got 2 inches of snow last night. That was it.
That's good. We probably had 3 or 4. When I came home today, I snowblowed, but on the job site where I was working today, they had like 6. It was pretty intense, and that was only 30 minutes actually west, so that it would actually put us further away from the heart of the storm. But it was kind of, we had fake spring last week, and it got up to 60 degrees, and that's typical middle to end of February, they show you the light at the end of the tunnel, and then they close the curtain again and bomb you with some more snow. So it's a reminder that winter is not yet over. So, but that's okay. It's already February 23rd, so time's flying. So
Texas likes to fool us on winter. It'll start acting like spring, and things start turning green, which is what's happening right now. And then we think, oh, we're good, we're free and clear, we can take all our winter freeze stuff off faucets and everything. Then it'll turn right around and slam us with a hard one right around Easter time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's it's kind of interesting. You mentioned Easter time. There's sometimes that day will come around and it'll be shorts and t-shirts and we're down at the ice cream stand at night, and then other times it'll be freezing cold and lots of snow on the ground. So it's still unpredictable. All right, well, it's good to see all of you on screen and that you had a good week and everybody's doing good. We'll come over here and say hi to those in the comments here. So our first comment is Mark Zahammer says, wow, this topic's for me, former vegan here. All right. Very good. Yeah. Hopefully you'll enjoy this discussion tonight. And I do want to preface the saying that I always say, if you're in the audience and you're watching this and you're a vegan, we are completely cool with that. We're not here to bash veganism. We are here to discuss why veganism seems to be on the decline, because that is what the statistics show. And we'll get into that discussion probably in another 8:30 or so.
Yeah, we won't bash you. We might feel sorry for you, but we won't bash you, I promise.
Then we had Paul's comment number 2, 715. Welcome to the meat eater side. And yeah, and so any of you want to be on screen, it doesn't matter if you are, carnivore, animal-based, ketovore, just low carb, dirty carnivore even. If you're eating the standard American diet and you just have some questions that you'd rather ask face-to-face, or even if you're vegan, so long as you're cool, you're more than welcome to click that link and join us. Paul says, my grandfather juiced grapes and made wine. So that's what we were talking about before we went live, and kind of missed 8 o'clock by about 30 seconds, is making wine and growing grapes. So Jeff says that he's got what looks to be grapes in his yard. I actually have grapes in my backyard, but I never do anything for them. So they're little tiny green grapes, and they go bad very fast because I don't spray them with any pesticides or anything. I've talked about my cherry trees and my apple trees. I do get to enjoy those when they are bearing fruit. But the grapes, by the time they look like they might be edible, the bugs and other animals have already found them and done some damage to them. So I've never, ever actually picked a grape off my grapevines in the back. Nor have I made wine. I got some friends that like to make wine, but I've never made wine. All right. Let's see here. Linda Flanagan says, hello, everyone. And Paul says, it was a blast as a kid. The pig ate the pressed grapes. And when you say the pig, you're talking about a literal pig, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
All right. Very good.
We painted the pig purple with the skins and seeds.
Mm-hmm.
We painted the pig purple with a broom.
That's funny. How cute. All right. Yeah, we got some snow. Granny Boo's here. Hi, Granny Boo. And we have Brian Dish. Good to see you tonight. And Grandma's Crochet Corner is in the house. And Linda Flanagan says, hit that like button. Yes, that would be very much appreciated. Hit that like button, and that'll help YouTube push this out to more viewers, knowing that we're live and we got something exciting going on. So We got 34 in attendance so far. We usually peak close in the late 40s or 50s, but a couple weeks ago we were in the 60s, and that's thanks to you guys hitting that like button. So please do that. We really appreciate it when you do. Let's see here. And Linda McDaniel says hi from Houston, Texas.
Welcome, fellow Texan.
Fellow Texan, yeah. So Lexus Jones is in the house and is turning 29 in 2 days.
Happy birthday.
All right.
Happy birthday.
How exciting. And it'll be your last year in your 20s. I see it. I know you made that comment coming up, but that'll be nice. So your 30s are good. So my favorite decade by far is my 30s. So don't mourn for your 20s too much this coming year. The 30s were the best years of my life.
I can barely think back that far.
Uncle Charlie asks if anybody watched Butter Bob last night. I did not. So I'll have to I'm actually still very unfamiliar with him. I haven't watched his videos yet. Lewis is in the house. Hi, Lewis. And we got Sandy Blythe. And yeah, it's officially the last year of my 20s. And like I said, that's okay. So if I could relive anything, it'd be my probably my early 30s, like 30 to 38. You know, if I could just repeat those 8 years endlessly, I'd be a very happy man. So, and I just turned 50 a couple months ago, and I'm actually not that brokenhearted about it. So, you know why? I've had 50 years to get used to it. All right. Paul Clark. There's a name I haven't seen before. Welcome to Carnivore Talk. Glad to have you here. And we have Brisket Boomers. Says, got to eat more fat. Yes.
Oh,
indeed.
darling, I wish it was that easy.
Amy.
Trust me, I eat a lot of fat. It don't help me.
Yeah.
Actually, it may be helping me and I don't know it, but it's not fixing anything.
Oh, this goes to the constipation discussion. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Now that's what they say is eat more fat. I will, however, say that when it comes to cheese, that rule doesn't seem to work for me. So like I remember when I decided to go 30 days dairy free, and then for that 30 days, things were pretty loose. Loose is whatever you said about the goose. That was pretty funny. I can't remember exactly what you worded, but
loose as a goose.
Yeah. And I actually started to get tired of it because it brought me back to my ulcerative colitis days. And then when I added cheese back in, that fixed everything for me. So yeah, that rule seems to apply except for cheese. Cheese seems to be a natural thicker upper.
It's a binder for sure.
All right, let's see here. And Papa Carnivore says, how is everyone tonight? Just got back from San Antonio, Texas, where I attended my granddaughter's first birthday party. Oh, that's nice.
That's my hometown.
All right, very good. Bill Cook says hello. And I bought a brand new juicer once, tried to make my own V8 so bad I have my juicer away. Yeah. I've never owned a juicer. So I know that was really, really popular for a while. Probably, I mean, in my mind, it was popular in the 90s, juice and everything. And I never got into it. So at the time, I actually enjoyed. I'd rather eat the vegetables than juice it and drink it. So I never got into it. I thought you were losing. Well, in my mind, you were losing out on fiber and things like that by juicing it and just extracting all the sugar, which I still think you are. But I was never a juicer. And I used to drink V8 too. I used to love V8. So won't drink it now. But for a time there, I thought it was really good.
I wasted a lot of money on juicers.
Mm-hmm.
And did harm to my body too with the oxalates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
other defense chemicals.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're juicing everything raw. So
Exactly.
you're not even cooking out the anti-nutrients or
Yeah.
the plant poisons. You're taking them in, and you're taking them in an easily digestible form. There's nothing
Yeah.
to bind to them and pass them through your stool, and you juice
And I
them.
thought I was doing good for my body. I thought I was doing the right thing.
Yeah. Well, it's marketed towards, it's marketed that way. Like, this is supposed to be a health thing. Same. Yeah. Here's another device that I don't use anymore that was marketed the same way. But remember the George Foreman grill?
Yeah.
I was just going to bring that.
It would cook everything on a slight slant so that all the grease would roll off, and you could, and your burgers or meats would be lean. Now I'm like, what a mistake that was, because you actually want all that rendered fat, So I'll never cook with. I still have it. It's in the closet doing nothing. I'll try and sell it at a yard sale or something someday. But yeah, I had that, and I thought it was the greatest thing in the world at one time, and now I know better. I'm better off. I'm better off cooking in my cast iron skillet. Spanky Golf Addict is here. There's another name I haven't seen. Good to have you here. Glad you could join us. And all right. He's saying a lot of repeated names here. Oh, here's a good question from Peter, because we talked to Lexus on screen last week. He asks, "How's it going? Have you been staying on plan?" We talked last week that you had recently restarted your ketogenic diet, and yeah, we would love to have an update. See how you're doing. And Uncle Charlie asks, "What is dirty carnivore?" So dirty carnivore would not be strict. So dirty carnivore would be you're still okay with seasonings. That would be an example of dirty carnivore. Or maybe some garnishes like, oregano or basil or something like that. What else would qualify as dirty carnivore?
Oh, eating a jalapeno every once in a while.
Yeah. I guess some people would say, that. And that's
Cooking
just
up a meatloaf and putting onions or bell pepper in it or something.
Yeah, there you go. So
you're using it more as a flavoring or a condiment, instead of just eating it for what it is. So yeah, that's how I would define it. Anything that is not 100, like you said, strict carnivore, 100% pure carnivore.
Yeah.
And most people are dirty carnivore or even keto.
So I do dirty carnivore once in a while because I don't object to the occasional use of seasonings. Or you mentioned a meatloaf, like if a meatloaf has some onions in it or something, I'm not really going to care. And the reason is because that'll probably be the only onions I have in the next 3 months. So
yeah, exactly. And it all boils down to what your body can handle. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. All that matters is what your body says, and if it doesn't put weight on you and if it doesn't cause any inflammation issues or any other metabolic issues, then it's no big deal. Just like I mentioned, jalapenos. Yeah, I'll have a jalapeno or two once a month. I may put some on my carnivore nachos, some pickled jalapenos. I do that maybe once a month, or I'll have some jalapeno poppers smoked on the grill on my smoker. So yeah, I do a little dirty carnivore, but the rest of the time I'm pretty strict. Now, I was using seasonings for a while, but I started noticing a lot of joint pain. So I backed off the seasonings and went back to just strictly salt.
And this is kind of like one of the reasons why I shun labels, is because I don't think you're not a carnivore if you use some seasonings, or like some people like, Alfredo sauce. But if you look at the ingredients, it might not be the cleanest. It's not like pure, but it's pure enough.
Well, it's just like, okay, we love those egg life wraps.
Right. There you go. Good example.
There's something in there. I don't know what it is.
Carrageenan.
Yeah.
I think it's carrageenan.
Yeah. And is that pure carnivore? Probably not. I don't know what it is. I doubt if it's pure carnivore. But the egg life wraps don't bother me. I find them delicious. I use them. I had some last night. Uh, so yeah, I agree. I agree with you on the labels. Yeah, if you want to label yourself as something, fine.
Yeah.
But don't try to classify somebody else by your standards.
You know, in my past life, I was a big black pepper fan. I put black pepper on everything.
Mhm.
Same.
And once I went carnivore, I didn't want it anymore. I
Same
haven't
here.
had black pepper. You know, fresh ground black pepper was my fave. I haven't had it in, I don't know, 3-4 years now. Just
Probably the
haven't
only
had
time
it.
I get, yeah, the only time I get black pepper is if I go to McDonald's and I have I'll order sides of quarter-pound patties. They season those with a little salt and pepper, so it doesn't bother
My
me at
big
all.
thing was garlic.
Yeah,
Either
I still
fresh
use it.
garlic, or garlic powder.
Yeah. Carrageenan is an additive used to thicken, emulsify, and preserve foods, and it comes from red seaweed. So
Okay.
that's where they get it from. So yeah, it's a thickening agent for the
So
egg
we can
life
say
wrap.
it's not clean.
Yeah. Yeah. But here's, like I said, I don't like to get into these kind of labels because if you guys are going to call someone who has an egg life wrap or a little bit of seasoning a dirty carnivore, well, so are you with your morning cup of coffee, and that accounts for about 95% of you. So
Yeah.
that's a plant. That's a seed that, which is like the worst of plants, So if you're drinking coffee or tea, you're a dirty carnivore too, technically, if you want to throw that label around, which I think is kind of stupid. So, all right. Let's see here. Lexa says, I have been for the most part. Had a couple slips, but they were minor. Still feeling great. Okay. Hey, get back on your feet. Keep
Good
on
job,
going.
Lexa.
That's good. Sounds like you're doing good.
Good.
Yeah. No. Yeah, maybe you had a little coffee or a little seasoning. So some people
I'm down to one mug a day.
All right, that's good.
One 12-ounce. I was doing 5 or 6. And I'm down to one 12-ounce coffee a day.
Is that random when the chat disappears? So I don't know what kind of device you're on, but like if I'm on a phone and I click back and then I come back to the detailed video, like when I click back, because I have YouTube Premium, it'll shrink to a little picture-in-picture window in the bottom of the screen, and then when I return to it, the chat will be gone. It only happens to me on a phone, though.
Yeah, somebody was saying that something they chatted got removed or disappeared.
Yeah.
And that's what Bill was responding to.
Yeah, so then you have to back out of it altogether, close YouTube, reopen it, and come back, and then the chat should be back. All right. Alexis is excited for her 30s. Just a little sad I didn't accomplish much yet, but I guess your 20s are more for making mistakes and being successful. That's part of the reason. It's part of the reason why I said I like my 30s. So in my 20s, I don't know, like I still look back to the things that I said and did in my 20s. I lacked self-confidence. I still said things that were kind of silly, but in my 30s, I just felt, this is me, and I'm confident in my thoughts. I'm confident in my interactions with others. It's just a different, more mature for sure. So yeah, what you say, I think, comes into play. CB Carmack, your liver should adjust to increase fat intake. Your liver has to keep up with bile production to handle fat. I had that issue the first year or two.
That would be nice. Of course, you got to remember everybody's different. Now, in my case, I don't have a gallbladder. I ain't had one since 97. So I have no storage for bile. Now, yeah, my liver will produce bile. I mean, that's what it does. But I don't know that it's producing enough or is able to keep up, with the amount of fat that I eat. I eat a ton of fat. I have fat literally in every single bite I put on my fork. And if it's not a fatty piece, there's butter on it, period. I'll go through a stick of butter a day. And My liver just can't keep up with it, I guess. But I'm not breaking down the fats like I should, I don't think. And is it because I don't have a gallbladder? I don't know. But
Yeah, you would think that without the gallbladder, a high fat meal would produce a loose stool and slide right
and
through.
maybe well, good point. Maybe my liver's putting out too much bile.
Mhm.
I don't know. And for the record, you said you had that issue the first year or so. I'm getting close to 3 years carnivore, and I've still got this issue. So what works for some people doesn't work for everybody.
Now you mentioned having fat with every bite. I did that last night. We do our shopping on the weekends, and so when we were in Sam's Club, my wife was like, "I want a rotisserie chicken." So we had a rotisserie chicken last night. So there you go. I was a dirty carnivore last night. Some people are really against rotisserie chickens.
Yeah, they can put stuff in them.
Yeah, and
My
I
wife
don't have a problem with it. But I dig into my half a chicken, and chicken's really lean. So I actually cut off. I got some butter there too, and it's like these 1 pound blocks. I meant to get quarters, but I got 1 pound by accident. And so I shaved off some butter slats and threw it on there and microwaved it a little to help soften the butter. And yeah, so with every bite of chicken, I had butter last night. So
I have to have butter with chicken.
mm-hmm.
I can't eat chicken without just drowning it in butter.
Yeah. So mine was. Mine, well,
I found when I came
drowning,
carnivore.
But, it was definitely I had butter with every bite, and
Yeah.
I ate almost half the chicken. So
Yeah, I discovered when I became a carnivore that I really didn't like chicken. I thought I used to love chicken, but it turned out what I loved was fried chicken.
mm-hmm.
I love the breading. I love the crispy skin.
Right.
I eat, because I'm a Southerner, we eat chicken, it's going to be fried. And I didn't know there's any other way to eat chicken, really, So, when I went carnivore and I tried eating just like a rotisserie chicken, like, how did I ever like this stuff? All I wanted was the skin off of it, and that was it.
Yeah. If you look down in the corner, CB Carmack said, rendered fat will run right through you more than non-rendered fat or raw fat. So that's
I eat both.
Yeah.
I go through a lot of it.
Yeah, when I cook something, I cook everything. Either in tallow, and I make my own tallow. I render my own tallow. I cook everything in either tallow, butter, lard, ghee. If I've got it, duck fat. Duck fat is wonderful, by the way. And even my hamburger, when I have my hamburger processed, because I raise my own beef and everything. And when I have my hamburger made, I have it made 70-30. And same thing with my deer. When my deer burger's made, it's 70-30. And whatever fat renders off of that gets poured right back onto it. I don't waste any of the fat. Bacon fat, it's saved. I got a bunch of bacon fat right now that we were cooking with today. And so I'm going to take that fat and I'm going to use that over my meat like a gravy. So I'm still getting that fat back. And so it'll be the rendered fat. And then the only solid fat I eat is the butter. And I like, like Papa said one night, I like cold butter with my steak. I don't want the rendered fat. I want the cold butter with my steak. It just, something about it tastes good. But yeah, I don't skimp on the fat at all, and I eat both kinds.
All right.
Yeah, the only thing I haven't done is just pour me a cup of rendered fat and drink it down like a soup or something. That's the only thing I haven't done. Maybe that's next.
All right. Let us know how that goes. Papa Carnivore says, Butter Bob Briggs is one of the OGs of carnivore YouTubers. He coined the phrase, butter makes your pants fall off. Bob went away for 10 years, fell off plan, but just came back to YouTube. Yeah, his video popped up for me last week. I guess, it'd been 10 years, I think. And a lot of people were talking about it. So I hadn't heard of him. I came into the community, just 3 years ago myself. So I have to watch some of his content. And glad to hear he's back on plan. That's good. I honestly think cheese is okay, especially if you are dumping them oxalates. I'm just curious what the relationship there is, but I eat cheese. I have no problem with cheese whatsoever, so I enjoy my dairy. So, and CB Carmack says maybe a supplement like a lipase enzyme or ox bile.
And I wrote that down, by the way. I'm going to
Yeah.
look into that lipase. Thank you for that tip.
But again, I always thought ox bile was like if you have loose stools, ox bile would help firm them up because it would help you digest the fat. So again, it sounds like unless I'm getting things backwards, that sounds like the opposite would be necessary there. So yeah, Jeff is a confusing case. We've talked about this for years, as to how he has no gallbladder and then he has constipation problems, because you would really think that it'd be the opposite with the amount of fat he eats. I had my comment, "Good morning, everyone," deleted by the YouTube gods today. I was clearly, I don't know what that's about. So censorship. Butter Bob's live stream last night was incredible. He had over 400 people watching, and he had Mitch, Rick, Charger Mopar, Kelly Lewis, and many others come on camera. All right. Is that something he's going to regularly do on Sundays, or was that just kind of like
I don't know.
a
I don't know.
All right.
When I was in a different live and people were watching two at once, and he was complaining about something. I can't remember what it was. And then finally I guess things smoothed out and whatever. I don't know. But I guess he kicked somebody off or something. I don't know.
Fuzzy Booger. That's an interesting picture there. Fuzzy Booger. I wasted a lot of money on bodybuilding supplements over 40 years. I was dumb. And
it's funny. His handle just reminded me of something. I weeks ago, we were talking about things that Carnivore has fixed and cured, changes that we've seen, and something popped into my head. And I never got around to saying it. It's really weird. The first weird thing I encountered that was just out of the norm, I hadn't heard anybody mention it before, was my dandruff cleared up. Had dandruff ever since I grew my hair out.
Mm-hmm.
And I wore a buzz haircut all the way up until junior high. And from then on, I had dandruff. Well, it's gone now. I don't have dandruff anymore. Praise the Lord and praise Carnivore.
Mm-hmm.
But the weird thing, strange to say, I don't have boogers. After seeing his handle, it reminded me, I don't have boogers. It's just weird. My sinuses stay dry all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My nose will run a little bit, once in a while, a little clear fluid. I guess it's maybe a histamine reaction or something, but I don't get boogers anymore. I don't get snot anymore. It's just weird.
I have this probably once a week. I'll blow my left nostril, and there's always like a red scab that comes out, and then it's bleeding a little bit. But then I don't know why I'm bursting veins over on that side. It's not enough to get a nosebleed. I've only had a nosebleed like once in my life, but for some reason it's always something in there is bleeding, always leaking over there. And I'm thinking it just might be the dry air from the winter. It's been a bad winter. So, but on that note, one of my weird carnivore benefits is no excessive earwax anymore. And I didn't think of that until I went to a carnivore meetup in Columbus, Ohio over summer. And afterwards, we went out to get some refreshments at one of the places before leaving the area. And I was with some people that I had met. And this guy that was there, he was probably about 10 years older than me. He had a list of his non-scale victories. And on his list, he had no more abundant earwax and no more earwax problems. And then it just like dawned on me like, oh, wow. That happened to me too, because I used to get massive earwax buildup, and it would plug up you know, if you use use the Q-tip wrongly, it would push the wax in and block off your hearing, and then you were like mostly deaf. And I don't know if you ever heard of an ear candle, but that's how I would have to fix it. I'd have to poke a hole in a paper plate, stick this ear candle, which is like a funnel, through it, light it on fire, and lay down. And as that would burn down, it would warm up and it would draw the earwax up into the funnel. And that was my only way to kind of like get my hearing back. But I haven't had to do that at all since starting carnivore. So that's like kind of something you would just never think about. It's like, oh, wow, you know, I haven't had any earwax issues since starting carnivore. And what would be the relationship? That's the other thing that I really don't understand either. What would be the relationship between a clean diet and not producing earwax? I kind of don't get it. So, but it might be something fun to study a little bit, you know, and see, come up with the actual scientific reason why that might be the case.
Yeah, them ear candles, they sell those in the pharmacies around here.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, no boogies. That's good too.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah. All right, let's see here. So you know what? You mentioned this bodybuilding supplements. There are some carnivores who are very pro creatine supplementation. I don't know why. I would think that if eating a bunch of meat, there would be no need for any creatine supplementation.
Okay. I'll comment on this because I'm supplementing with creatine now.
All right.
All right. So this is a good subject. So I've seen several videos, and one that really got me to looking at it was Nick Nort's on creatine. And to start with, creatine is the most studied, the most tested supplement known to mankind, the way they talk. Perfectly healthy. And so bodybuilders and athletes use it to enhance their recovery and to help build muscle. And it will give you a false illusion of bigger muscles because your muscles will retain water in them. That's what the creatine does. But that's what helps with the recovery. And so I've started back to training again. And because I was dealing with, you know, I lost a lot of weight. And in losing that weight, I ended up losing more than I'm used to losing. I got down below my high school weight. My high school weight was 175. I got all the way down to 160. Well, in so doing, I thought that was kind of neat. But at the same time, I noticed I was weaker. I noticed that I had lost muscle. So that weight wasn't just fat. I was losing muscle. And then at my age, I got to reading up, saw a video or something, got to reading up about sarcopenia. And that's what I was developing. People my age, our age, Paul, we get to a point in life, well, you and me the same age, we get to a point in life where we start losing muscle just naturally due to our age. It's called sarcopenia. And so I saw where Nick was advocating creatine supplementation, not just for workouts and muscle building, but for the brain, because they've got some studies out there that they're still working on, but they're showing promising results that people who megadose, and we're talking 5, 10, 15, 20 milligrams a day of creatine, when 5 is the normal dose for just a workout, 20 is showing a lot of improvement in brain function.
Yep.
And it's not something that's going to harm you. It can mess up your stomach a little bit, you know, if you don't eat it with food. You got to be careful with that. But other than that, it's really supposed to help with cognitive functioning with your brain. And so I thought I'd go ahead and give that a try. Since I'm back to training and trying to build my muscle back up, which, man, I'm feeling so much better doing it, feeling great. And I even noticed that I was cutting brush today and carrying my chainsaw, and I thought, man, chainsaw's feeling lighter today. I wonder why, you know. I know why. It's because I've been lifting. And so anyhow, so that's why I'm hitting the creatine, is for the sarcopenia, get some muscle back on this body, and in the past 3 weeks that I've started this, I've put on 5 pounds. Now, a lot of that's going to be water weight. I don't think it's muscle yet, but most of that's going to be water. But that's the retention of the water into my muscles due to the creatine.
Yeah, that's what I've read too. Yeah.
Jeff, did you
the
put
other
a
thing
load? I'm sorry, Paul.
I just going to say, when people look at how much protein they need, you'll hear all kinds of estimates of where you should start, where you should be. But the one comment that you rarely hear, it's very important, is your protein requirement is also very connected to your activity level.
Yeah.
And you, Jeff, being on the farm, you're doing a lot of physical work, probably mostly every day. You've got a little greater protein need than somebody going to the office and sitting behind a computer all day.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
Yeah.
And I knock off about 2 pounds of meat a day, 2 pounds of protein a day, with a ton of fat. What were you going to say, Dave?
Did you, for that creatine, did you start off with a front loading it, or just the?
I started off with the prescribed dose of 5 milligrams, which it's got a measuring cup in there, 5 a day, and I did that for the first week, and then I upped the dose to 20 a day.
Okay.
And I'm having trouble getting the 20 a day in just because I forget. Like today, I only did 10 milligrams just because I simply forgot to take the other 2. I got busy and didn't take the time out to take the other 2 doses. I almost forgot the last dose after I got back from the gym working out.
So each dose is 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, the jar comes with a little measuring cup in it, and that's just 1 dose. And yeah, if you're just taking it to help your muscles out, 5 is all you need. They say that doing any more than that doesn't help your muscles any. But apparently, by these studies, it is good for the brain function in the higher doses.
Cool.
So
All
we'll
right.
see.
All right. Well, thanks for elaborating on the creatine supplementation. So that makes a lot of sense. All right. So let's see here. We've got 51 viewers right now. So welcome,
Cool.
everybody. Glad you're here. That's probably working as you guys lovingly hitting that like button. So if you've joined us, if you could hit that like button, that'll help YouTube push this out to more eyeballs, and we can get more people in here. Because in about 10 minutes, we're probably going to talk about our topic a little more in detail. We haven't done it yet. And we're going to talk about why veganism is on the decline.
So who and where and how are carnivores and vegans or anything else counted? How do we know how many vegans there are? Or how do we know? That's
don't.
my question.
We don't.
So how do we know? I don't know.
How does anybody know?
So let's see here.
It's like we don't know how many carnivores there are.
So
We
there
estimate.
there are a couple ways to tell. Okay, so for instance, in the United States, we have what's called the Gallup poll. So Gallup polls, for instance, showed that in 2023, only 1% of Americans identified as vegan, which is down from what was 3% in 2018. So the height of the veganism popularity surge was actually pre-pandemic, 2018 to 2019, and now it has dropped. And vegetarianism sits at 4%, pretty steady, but that's not as strict as veganism. And then another way we can tell is by the sale of plant-based meats. So U.S. retail dollar sales of plant-based foods fell 4% in 2024, with vegan meats specifically dropping 7 to 7.5% into 2025, and up to 21% in chilled and frozen categories during the same time period. So we've got the Gallup poll, we've got the sale of plant-based meats, and then And then there's other trends. Let's see how this one here. Americans ate about 7% more meat in 2024 than pre-pandemic. Vegan restaurant openings slowed dramatically, and they used to be a dozens per year in the 2010s, but now that's just a fraction of that. And some high-profile spots have added meat. You've probably seen that in the headlines lately. A former vegan restaurant started selling meat because they're losing money. The sales are steadily declining. And then and then the same thing is going on over in Europe too. So the identify, certain surveys and demographics. So just like we have World Carnivore Month in January, they have Veganuary is what they call it. And it says Veganuary 2025 saw 25.8 million global participants trying for a month, which was down exponentially from before. So that's how they tell. They tell by taking polls, and they can also tell by the increase in sales of meat and the decrease in sales of plant-based food products. So when you say, how do we know? Those are some ways that clue us in. Now, do we know exactly? No, nobody knows exactly, because nobody's reporting to any authority what they eat. I know I sure don't. So, but those are some trends that they are able to survey and kind of come up with their statistics with, which of course there's some assumptions that go into that, but the statistics also don't lie, the ones that they can track. So
I'm surprised. I'm sorry, David, go ahead.
Well, so they put this the fake meat in there, but my understanding of a vegan is a clean vegetarian. So I wouldn't think that the vegans would be eating that even when it first came out, because it's a processed mush that's just, it just seems to be the antithesis of what a vegan would be trying to eat.
And that's actually going to be part of some of the stuff that we bring up. One of the reasons why it is on the decline is because, there has been an increase in the critical view towards, or the damnation of, ultra processed foods, and these vegan meat substitutes like Beyond Burger and Impossible Burger, both of which are either have gone bankrupt or on the verge of going bankrupt.
Good.
They're seen as ultra processed foods, and so they haven't, when they first came out, there was a surge in popularity. People, again, that were kind of interested in maybe going vegan rushed out to try them. You could get a Beyond Burger Whopper from Burger King for a while. I don't know if you still can, but I remember going down and trying it too. I'm kind of curious what this is like. Does it, how much is it comparable to actual meat? Because can they really pull it off? But then, a couple problems that came into that was, no, it doesn't taste like real meat, and so that kind of lost its luster there. B, these ultra processed meats were actually expensive to buy, so people were like, well, it doesn't taste as good as the real thing, and I'm not going to pay that much money for fake meat. And so the surge and everybody trying it, waned, and now these companies aren't doing so good anymore. So those are factors that go into the decline of veganism, and that's right on topic. That's definitely some of the reasons that we're going to throw out there tonight. So you bring up a very valid point. It is an ultra processed food, and a strict vegan, as it were, isn't going to touch it.
Well, some of these new fake ones that they're coming up with are actually made from protein, animal protein, just synthetically. The latest ones that are supposed to be, what do they call it? Lab grown meat. It's not vegetable. It's actually made of protein. You know,
That's
I'm surprised.
interesting.
I'm surprised
Yeah.
during the pandemic, the great pandemic of 2020. I'm really surprised that wasn't the highlight of the veganism right there, uh, because I know when I'd go to the grocery store, and back then, of course, I wasn't carnivore, so I ate a lot of vegetables, and I noticed when I'd go to the grocery store, everybody was complaining about there wasn't any food on the shelves at the grocery store, and I had no problem finding any foods. Because even then, I ate basically whole foods. I didn't eat very many, uh, uh, like frozen pizzas and stuff like that. I didn't. I wasn't into the highly processed foods, and so I ate meat and vegetables. And there was plenty. There was plenty of vegetables. Wasn't a ton of meat, but there was enough meat. So I'm surprised more people weren't eating vegetables. But it was funny how first thing they panic buy is the frozen pizzas and the fish sticks and the tater tots, you know, and the frozen burritos, but they won't touch the real food.
Yeah, no, that's true. When the pandemic started, my wife worked at Meijer, the grocery store, and she was like, "You got to get down here and see this. People are going mad." I still had no idea what was going on yet, but I took the kids down there, and yeah, I was like, it was surreal. Just the place was so, they told you, oh, social distance, and then like that place was probably beyond legal capacity with the amount of people that were in there, and the shelves, almost every shelf was barren. It was something else. It was a sight to see. So
Yeah, go over to the produce section. There's probably plenty of produce over there. Lots of fruits and vegetables. I didn't have any problem finding anything to eat.
It was my first experience with seeing panic buying with my own eyes, because I guess this is kind of what they do when in Florida, when the hurricanes are coming. They run to the store and buy a bunch of stuff. And
same thing here in Texas when there's an ice storm warning.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, surreal. It's some imagery that I'll never forget. I'll be able to picture it probably for the rest of my life, because I'd never seen anything like it.
The absurdity of man.
All righty, let's see here. All right, let's bounce back to some comments. I need to star one to mark my spot. There we go. All right, going back here. Spanky says, did the juicing thing with the green juice for 14 days, and on day 10, I was rushed to the hospital via ambulance from the fad diet. Yeah, wow.
I'd be curious to know what the issue was that it caused.
Yeah, that's that's interesting. So here we go. Juicing is supposed to be so healthy, and look what it did. Lexus Jones says the only reason I still use a George Foreman grill would be so I can save the fat for later.
There you go.
Yep. Yeah. It'll render out nicely into that little dish and save it. All right.
When I cook my ground beef, I don't cook it all the way. It's kind of browned on the outside and rawish on the inside.
Rawish on the inside. I got to cook a burger medium well to well done, but my steaks I like to be medium rare. So.
I like my burger pink.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do that. And so more of the fat is just getting eaten raw to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it better. And I think I don't know. I've been doing this for well over a year now, and I kind of like it. And maybe I haven't had no ill effects in any way. But you get all that grease in the frying pan, and they say that hot grease that'll cause, and it solidifies, and you eat it. It doesn't cause diarrhea. I've heard that mentioned a lot. And I don't know. That's just what I do.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, there ain't nothing wrong with that. So some people that eat their burger raw, I wouldn't do that. But I'm not opposed to having pink in my burger. I just usually cook them pretty thoroughly. And usually because when I'm cooking, I'm not cooking for myself, and my partner isn't going to have a pink burger. She'll tell me it ain't done.
Yeah, the only problem with the hamburgers, with the steak, any pathogens that are on it are going to be on top of the steak, and they get cooked. They get killed in the cooking process. But with burger, those pathogens can be ground up into the meat, therefore they can be inside the meat. That's why they always advocate. But it's like every other warning they give you. These warnings are because one person in a million got sick or whatever, And so they got to put that warning on everything that you got to cook it thoroughly. But it rarely happens. I've never heard of anybody getting sick from eating, raw to almost raw hamburger. And I've eaten a lot of raw meat in my day, between Prisa down here in Texas and steak tartare in Germany. I've had a lot of raw meat and never gotten sick from anything. The only thing I've ever gotten sick from as far as food was from some pulled pork that was in the refrigerator too long. My fault. Should have labeled that container. And from a bad clam I got up in Maine one time when I was a truck driver. That was not a good night. It was a long time before I could eat clams again.
CB Carmack says brandemic. You were saying plandemic, right?
Plandemic, because it was all planned.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. Plandemic.
Oh, and speaking of which, well, no, I'm not going to mention it. It's probably a taboo subject. I won't say it.
Yeah.
I was going to say something in relationship to that, and I won't.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Some people are afraid to mention the C word on YouTube. Like YouTube's going to do something about it, but I'm not. COVID.
Well, I'll just say this. We've got a friend of ours that's dying from heart issues, and you can imagine what they did during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Hey, Jeff.
Hang on, I'll be right back.
Okay. I went to a meeting last Thursday night, and I could not believe this woman sitting across from me, what she said. She had just come from she's in a test, and she got the new COVID shot, and she's going to be getting a series of these COVID shots for I don't know, the next 6 months. And I thought, ain't no way.
No.
I felt sorry for her.
Okay, well, that's what I was going to mention.
A series of them, like over the next 6 months, like how many?
Or something like that. Yeah. This was the first in a test, and I guess they're trying these guinea pigs out with different strains, I guess. But I just thought, oh my gosh, I can't live her life for her, but I just felt so sorry.
How much is she getting paid? Were they paying her?
I would assume. I don't know. I didn't ask any questions. It was like, don't get me started. So I just,
I wouldn't use myself as a guinea pig, but back when they came out, when they first rolled out, and remember they were doing them by age group, so before they were released to the public, they did have test groups, and then they were first released to, like, if you were 80 or older, you could get it, but not with nobody else. And then it was like a week later, it was if you were 70 or older, and then it was you were 60 or so. I had to wait some time, and even when I became eligible, I still wanted to wait. I was like, I'm still not ready yet. I'm going to wait and see if any of these other batches of people, give them a couple more months, see if they keel over dead or not, And then when generally speaking nothing happened, I did get the routine where you got one, and then you got one 30 days later, and then you got a booster 6 months after that. Now, since then, I've never gotten it again, because anytime I ever thought about it, and I'm not anti-vaccine by any means, so anytime I ever thought about it, like, well, it's been a while since I've gotten a COVID shot, I'd catch COVID. And so it was irrelevant. And I was like, well, I don't need it now because I just actually had the actual COVID, so there's no point.
Well, they weren't a vaccine. They were never a vaccine. They were nothing but an experiment on the American people to begin with. And they didn't do a thing except kill people. Yeah, they didn't kill everybody. They didn't kill most people. But they killed a hell of a lot of people around this world. And that's what, and, you know, I shouldn't even said nothing. But anyways, our friend is dying, and she got all the shots. And her heart is totally ruined. And they're blaming COVID for it. No, it wasn't COVID. It's the shot, more than likely. And I've got friends of mine. I've got too many friends of mine that never had heart conditions, have no history of heart conditions in their family whatsoever. And many of them, they got the shots in the beginning, have heart conditions now, have heart ailments. Does that prove that it's the shot? No, it doesn't prove it any more than eating red meat causes heart attacks. There's no proof, but I see a whole lot of correlation, and
Right.
There's no way I'd be an experiment like that.
Yeah, neither
There
would
was
I,
an Air Force nurse in Ken Berry's private group like 4 years ago. And she was, these pilots have to have their various shots and their medical records. That's what she did. And they had an astounding number of pilots that were grounded.
Yep.
And they could only trace it back to the COVID shot.
Yep. Buddy of mine in the Army, he called me up. He said, "Man, they're forcing me. They're forcing me." And he said, "What would you do?" And I says, I can't tell you what to do." He said, "Yeah, but what would you do?" I said, "I'd retire. I wouldn't take it." And they were trying to force us on the job. I retired. You're not going to force me to do anything I don't want to do. So anyways, my buddy, I said, "But you got to do what's right for you, man." And he says, "I'm so close to retirement." He says, "If they kick me out, I don't retire." And I said, "Well, you do what you got to do, but you asked my opinion. If it was me, I would retire. Even if it cuts me short on my retirement, I would retire." And well, he went ahead and took the shot out of fear of losing his retirement. And he spent the next 2 months in the hospital while the Army tried to save his life. I mean, immediately. And they managed to save him. But he spent 2 months in the hospital at death's door, and they finally got him back. And to this day, he now has atrial fibrillation.
And so heart issues is one of the potential side effects of the mRNA vaccines. I mean, that's become well established, myocarditis, and, the Spanky has on screen that he's had 9 shots. Everything's doing fine. And the reality is most people who have had the COVID shot are actually just fine and will be fine.
Yes.
My parents are the same way. They religiously every 6 months go down and get their booster since these things came out. And they were in the bracket of the first eligible ones too.
And I love what he says here.
Yeah.
And it's what I always say, everyone is different.
Right. Yeah. But they do say it's kind of like, everything has a side effect. Okay. And everything has potential side effects. So a potential side effect of the mRNA vaccine is myocarditis. And there's a couple other issues too.
And that's what my buddy had in the Army.
Yeah. So they say, that's why they say generally recognize it as safe. It could be that you'll be fine. There's people that take statins and they're fine. There's other people that take statins and they get sick, so everyone is different. So the question is, do you want to roll that dice and take that risk, even if the risk is small,
Well, and here's the thing. If it was really a vaccine, I could say, yeah. I mean, when I was working, I was around people all the time. I got the flu vaccine every single year. I didn't get the flu. But that was truly a vaccine. This here was never a vaccine, and it still isn't a vaccine.
And let's see here.
And it's the only shot ever released that killed that killed more people than it helped in its testing, and yet was still released.
Well, I haven't read that statistic.
Oh yeah.
I'd have to see. I'd have to see some.
Oh yeah, it was highly
research on that one.
reported. It was
Yeah.
highly reported in the beginning, because when they're testing, if they have a death, it's eliminated, it's done. And during their testing, they had like 4 or 5, 15 deaths, whatever it was. I don't remember the exact number, but they had like 4 times the amount of deaths than they allow for a vaccine to pass. And yet they still went ahead and passed it. It's not a vaccine.
Okay, it's not the information I read when they were starting it, because I believe me, I researched it thoroughly before I decided to go ahead and have it injected, and because I'm into research and especially things pertaining to my health, and then but now today, if you were to ask any AI or look at some studies on PubMed, the mRNA vaccines are actually considered one of the most thoroughly tested vaccines because billions of people have actually had them today.
Well, yeah, they became the experiment. We were all the guinea pigs for it. We were
right, and I'm saying the
experiment.
results of that have been that they're generally recognized as safe for most people. Granted, a small percentage of people have side effects. Some of those side effects are fatal. And that's a scary thing. For sure, but, most people don't have those kind of issues with it. So, but I do know some people individually that have, and not necessarily with the mRNA vaccines, but over in other countries, I have some people I know that I would consider friends that live in like England or South Africa or whatnot, and they had the one that actually caused a lot of problems was AstraZeneca. So, and I think AstraZeneca was a true vaccine where they take the virus and they take some of it out or whatnot, just very similar to the technology that they would make a flu vaccine with. And this woman's daughter took the AstraZeneca vaccine, and then she had like involuntary muscle movements and twitches all the time. And it went on for like years before her body actually calmed down and she could have muscular control again. That was pretty scary because these were people that I actually knew and video conference like we do now, like we're doing right now. So I actually got to see this with my own eyes, on camera. And that was the AstraZeneca vaccine. So that was pretty scary. And I think over here, it was Johnson & Johnson got pulled off the market because that was causing blood clots.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
Yeah.
So that also was a true vaccine, so like, the ones that they've all, done harm in some people, whether they were a legit vaccine or whether they're this mRNA quote unquote vaccine. And I don't see the need for it now. And the reason why
there was never a need for it. Never. Because it didn't do anything.
Well,
and they come out and admitted that.
Well, when the coronavirus came out, it was killing millions of people. So I think
doctors were killing millions of people.
So about 7 million people died of COVID during the pandemic. It doesn't even touch like the flu numbers of 1918, but you had 7 million people die of COVID.
Because the doctors were killing them.
I think they cooked the numbers because nobody in 2020 or 2021 had the flu. If you look at the CDC numbers, the flu disappeared after 2019.
Here's how they cook the numbers. Here's how they cook the numbers. Every single person that died, didn't matter what they died from, was tested. Their body was tested. And if they tested positive, which, by the way, the test is a whole nother issue because the tests were never accurate to begin with. They can't really test the COVID vaccine. But if it came up positive on their fake test, then they were classified a COVID death. Didn't matter if they had a heart attack. Didn't matter what the death was. We had a kid here in Dallas. He was going 90-0 on his motorcycle, lost control, hit a light pole, split his head open. And he was wearing a helmet, and it still split his head right in half. They listed him as a COVID death. His parents had to go to court and sue the county to get that taken off of his death certificate.
Because the federal government was paying $40,000 per
Bingo.
COVID death. Okay.
Bingo. And here's another thing. Like I said, it was the doctors killing them, because I know too many doctors who went against the grain, and they treated their patients who got the COVID, and they treated them with the drugs that they weren't allowing everybody to take. And they were treating them with inhalers. They were treating them for their lungs. And they had 98% success rates. And then
Here's
the
my
doctors,
question.
you go to the doctor, you got sick, and you went in there and they said, oh, you got COVID. So here's a Z-Pack, go home, drink plenty of fluids, treat it like the flu. If you get to where you can't breathe, go to the hospital, go to the ER. And so when they get to that point, because the doctor never treated them to begin with, they get to that point, they go to the ER, ER intubates them, and they die. They were dying at the hospital from what the doctors were doing, not from the disease.
Well, a lot of
And that
people
is
did
also
die from the
substantiated
disease.
fact. Huh?
So, a lot of
Do
people
what?
did die from the disease, even if the numbers aren't 100% accurate. A lot of people did die from the disease. So
I
there was an
disagree,
increase in
Bob.
deaths during those years over the average from the previous year.
Right.
They
Yeah.
died because they weren't being treated by the doctors.
You can't say that about everybody, though.
No,
So,
not everybody,
you
but
know.
the majority. I'll say it
when the
about the
Wuhan,
majority.
you can't say that the majority either. So when the Wuhan
If they were
strain
dying from the
came out-
disease, they would have been finding them dead at home. They weren't dying from the disease until they went to the hospital. It was the hospitals killing them.
well,
was another big problem.
I know hundreds of individuals personally who died of COVID during that time, and you can't tell me that the doctors killed them, when I was watching the doctors do everything they could to try and get these individuals to survive. So
From the very beginning, from the very beginning, because it wasn't happening in Texas. Because the standard of protocol that I saw in Texas and everybody else I knew around the world was go home, treat it like the flu, take plenty of liquids, and if you get to the point you can't breathe, then go to the ER.
right.
And when they would do that, that's when they would intubate them, and that was when they would die.
But intubating you isn't going to kill you.
No, but they weren't treating them, is what I'm saying. They were already too far gone because they were never treated to begin with.
Okay,
If
so
they
they were
would've
gone.
put
So
them-
they were gone from COVID. They were too far gone from going home and not being treated.
Okay, they died from COVID,
Yeah.
but they wouldn't have died from COVID or most of them wouldn't have died from COVID if they had been treated from the beginning, but they weren't treated. They allowed the disease to progress until it broke the body down too far for them to recover.
So
And nobody could do anything for
I
them.
think there's a
So in other,
big
so in
grain
other
of
words,
truth
in
there.
other words, COVID broke some people down to the point where they died.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
But who's
So-
to blame?
so
The
people
doctor
did
for
die-
not treating.
so people did die of COVID. Plain and simple.
I think they.
Yes, I will
I-
grant you that. But they died because of COVID because the doctors wouldn't treat them.
I have a
Okay,
question.
so it still stands true. COVID killed a lot of people. Now,
not-
I'll explain why it's not a concern
Yes,
anymore.
I'm not denying that, Bob.
Okay.
I'm denying that they died because they weren't treated, though.
Okay, so
They
I'll explain why it's not a
and I
concern
can't make
anymore.
that as a factual statement because even if they'd been treated from the beginning like they should have, would they have died? Maybe. We don't know because they never got treated. But I do know those that got treated from the beginning, when their doctors went against the standard of care protocol and actually treated them for their illness, 98% survival rate. That's quite a coincidence that those that got treated survived, those that didn't get treated died. So it was all in the treatment.
well, that's true, and they were probably sending a lot of people home because they were overwhelmed at the hospitals too. So, they were
Well,
trying to take care of the most serious cases.
but the
So when
doctors I'm
you
talking
left
about, like,
and you
we-
came back with a more serious case, then you got admitted. So
We had a doctor right up here in Lubbock that when patients came in immediately, he would put them on, and I don't know what the name of it is. It's a medicine they use for asthma to open up your lungs so you
Okay.
can breathe. But he didn't give them the asthma inhaler. He'd put them on a what do you call it? You stick your head in the machine and a vaporizer, and
oh yeah,
the stuff's in the water and
Like a
it's
breathing
steam.
treatment. Yeah.
Yeah. And they would take that. And then on top of that, they would take ivermectin and a Z-Pack or whatever else he had on hand. He was doing this unconventionally, and his patients, 98% were surviving, and he's documented all this.
Yeah.
And they were making it. And they were trying to, the medical community was trying to shut him down because he was saving lives. But he actually treated what was wrong with him. He went to the root cause of it and treated it.
Of those of us that had it in my house, my daughter had it the worst. And that was the Omicron variant. It was Wuhan, then Delta, then Omicron. No, she had Delta. I'm sorry, she had Delta. And yeah, she got really bad over here that she almost requested to go to an emergency room. But yeah, she was living off her asthma inhaler, to try and get her by, and she managed to pull through. But she was the one that got it the worst. Mine wasn't so bad. My son's wasn't so bad. My wife managed to not get it somehow until the following year. Then it swept through the family again a different time. And but anyway, the reason why I don't think it's a cause for concern now, which is what I've been trying to get to, is when the first strain came out, it was what they called a novel virus. It's humans hadn't been exposed to before. And it was wreaking some serious havoc, making a lot of people sick and killing a lot of people. But as it's mutated, it has gradually devolved, and it's going, if it hasn't already, it was always destined to take its seat next to the other 4 coronaviruses that have been circulating among mankind for centuries. So it was really bad at first, but now, as the virus has weakened, and the population as a whole has been subjected to it, then now it was always destined to devolve into just another common cold, which is what the other 4 coronaviruses cause, the common cold. So I don't think getting vaccinated against it now is really an issue unless you have an issue with a very, very weak immune system. So, because even the common cold can kill an elderly person today with a weak immune system. But for someone like me, I'm 50, and they say I have a comorbidity because of my kidney disease, but I don't even count that as a comorbidity. I can catch COVID now, and in 5 days I'm going to be fine, just like any other virus I might inhale and get infected with. I'm going to be just fine. So I don't think vaccination today is really important for anybody who may have been important for when the Wuhan strain was out. Some of the earlier strains that were actually deadly. What we see today is by no means as deadly as what we had when it first came out.
I don't even know if I've ever had it. I got something I think might have been it, but I know the tests aren't accurate. I didn't bother to get the test, and I chose not to get the test because I didn't want to be another government statistic. So I didn't even mess with it. But I got sick at Christmas time one year, and I think I ran a fever for one day. I was sick for maybe 3 days. It was the mildest flu I've ever had.
Yeah. Yeah, so like the thing with the tests is, so I never reported my tests, so I was able to test and never become a government statistic. So it's nobody's business what my test result was. And
I knew 2 different people that stood in line for hours to get a test, didn't get the test, got tired of it, went home, and 2 weeks later got a letter in the mail that said they had tested positive and never even got the test.
That's funny.
This is how bogus this whole thing was. So when I say pandemic, I mean pandemic.
Yeah. I got my
fake.
I got my test done at Walgreens, so the government never knew that I took one. So
I have a question about vaccines.
All right.
About 3 years ago, my doctor convinced me that I should get
so we're on the right channel.
Yeah. They convinced me to get this pneumonia shot. It was a 2-stage shot. Get a shot, come back 2-3 months later, get another one. And also they say, well, we ought to do a flu shot too, And so I said, let's do one at a time. So I got this pneumonia shot, And about 9 o'clock in the morning, and by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, where they gave me the shot at the site, I was in serious pain. I was crying. If I'd had a gun, I would have shot myself. And so I called the doctor's office, and they said, heating pad. Like they really knew what they were talking about. Pain got worse and worse and worse. I was biting down on a towel. So I dialed my 1-800 dial-in nurse on the back of my insurance card, and she's got all the information there, and she says, they told you to put heat on it? It says here, no heat whatsoever for 48 hours. Ice packs. 15 on, half hour off. 15 on, half hour off. I did that. I got relief. At least I wasn't crying anymore. By 6 a.m., I'm doing ice packs all night long. From about midnight to 6 a.m., it was tolerable. So, that goes by. And I go, okay, that was murder, and I don't know, a couple of months later, I go get a flu shot. And I always thought flu shot was a shot. I didn't know it was a vaccine anyhow. And I chose my other arm. Exact same thing. Pain like I couldn't believe. Well, I knew what to do now. Or at least I thought I did, and I did. It worked out. So if they changed something in these vaccines over the years, I used to get a flu shot every year, 10 years ago. And now I go near any of these shots, vaccines, I guess they call them. I get terrible site pain. I can't handle it. And yes, when I was forced to take a COVID shot or give up my job. And I didn't want to give up my job, so I took the shot. I took one shot. And same thing. I had pain like no tomorrow. Is there something in these shots that's different than 10 years ago? I don't know how these things are put together.
Flu shots change every year.
The COVID mRNA shot, yeah, you actually have COVID symptoms for a day or two after getting that one. But I don't know about your other shot, the pneumonia shot. I'd have to research it.
Yeah, is that the norovirus shot? Is that what they call that one?
I don't know about the pneumonia. The norovirus makes you vomit, right? Isn't that one of those?
I'm not sure. I was just thinking that just popped into my head.
Yeah,
I'm not going for any more vaccines.
Yeah, so as a kid and my own kids, you got the measles, mumps, and rubella. I mean, that's pretty standard and harmless. And then I get a flu shot when I think about it, and I've never had an issue with that either. And I never had issues with the COVID shot. And that's probably the only one that I don't see, like I said, I don't see the need for any of them. So, but this last year, actually just 3 weeks ago, my son took an entire week off work. He got that super flu, and he sat at the dinner table with us and watched TV in the living room with us. And I never got it. My wife never got it. His girlfriend never got it. And of the four of us, he was the only one that didn't get his flu shot. So, there's one that works. And even then, that only works if they have to guess which virus is going to be the dominant strain that season. There's some years where you get a flu shot and they guessed wrong and your flu shot's worthless.
And like I said before, when I was working, I was around a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would get the flu shot every year. Of course, I wasn't carnivore, and, the pandemic hadn't started, none of that stuff. So, I didn't know as much as I do now, or as much as I think I know now. But I would get the shot every year, and my whole crew would get the shot every year. We didn't get sick. We didn't get the flu. Was it because the shot actually worked? I don't know. There's no way to know. Or was it just because we just didn't come in contact with the flu virus that year?
If you work in a hospital, you work in a hospital, you have to have a flu shot. And I know a nurse, she didn't want to take the flu shot, but she wanted to work as a nurse, okay? Well, her husband happens to be a medical doctor. So he just signed off that she had the shot at his office. She never got the shot. So.
And it was funny. So when I did get sick with whatever it was I had, I went ahead and quarantined in my bedroom. And this was on Christmas and of that year. And we were having everybody over to the house. So the whole family come over to the house. Wife didn't sterilize nothing. We did nothing. Nobody in our family, none of us had ever had the shot, nothing. Everybody comes over, and we've got everybody there from 90 years old down to 1-year-olds in the house. All I did is I went to the bedroom, quarantined myself in the bedroom, and while everybody else had dinner and visited all day and all evening, and not one single person that came over got sick. Not one. So how contagious is it really?
I don't know.
Yeah. There was a lot of hype and a lot of lies.
I got my first COVID when I went to a 3-day music festival in Mansfield, Ohio, called incarceration. And I toured the prison there. And yeah, when I came back from that, it was actually that Sunday, my daughter left early because she wasn't feeling well. And then the next day, I felt like I got ran over by a truck. And I just thought it was from standing and being in the mosh pits for 3 days. And I went to work, and I was working by, one of the guys that worked for me at the time. And then the next day, I started having this like phlegm and cough. And so I got a test, not from the government, from Walgreens, and tested positive. But even then, like, my friend that worked for me, and we set tile together, worked over top of each other, had lunch in the same room. He had never caught it. So, and so
Thank
yeah,
you, Lewis. You're right, nebulizer. I couldn't come
nebulizer.
up.
That's the name of the breathing machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I got us all way off track. I apologize for that. So let's get back to the subject that we should have been on over an hour ago.
Right. So let me catch up. I'm starring comments here. Let me start.
We've never had a vegan astronaut. I know that much.
Really?
All
right.
Back in the early days of NASA, there was the pre-flight digestive meals, okay? And it was basically steak and eggs because they didn't want them to have to poop at a critical moment. I'm serious.
Oh, I think that's great. I love it.
And
I love it.
And when my dad was in the Air Corps, okay, sometimes you didn't know. The commanders knew you were going up, but you didn't know. And the thing that checked the box that told you were going was breakfast with steak and eggs. That meant you were going to be on the bomber and you were headed over Germany for how many hours?
Well, and that's how it was in most military branches.
That makes perfect sense.
If you were going to be making a beach landing, if you were going into a great battle, you could always tell what was fixing to happen by what your meal was going to be. They were going to feed you steak and eggs. They was going to feed you a good meal before you went in. And that was always a clue. World War II.
Yeah. The big one.
I just saw a funny comment I started. But anyway, what you just said makes perfect sense. By way of observation, okay. If I know that I'm going to have to go use the restroom and sit down, I usually know hours in advance that tonight's the night or today's the day, and I don't have any urgency. It's not an emergency or anything like that. And I eat meat, eggs, cheese, just carnivore diet. That's my lifestyle. And then, but those around me at work, eat sandwiches and fries and all kinds of American food. I will go to the restroom to sit down 2 to 3 times a week. And these other individuals, they have to go 1 hour after eating, like clockwork. They eat 1 hour later, boom, they got to go to the porta potty that's outside on the construction site, like clockwork. And lately it's been cold. It's been 0 degrees and -5. So there's been a little complaining about having to go outside and sit on that. Chilly, right? And I'm just like, you know what? I haven't had to have that problem. I think I might have had to do that once, but it's usually not a problem for me because I'm on a carnivore diet, and I'm not a slave to my own stools like I used to be. So when you
That's a
mentioned the steak
wonderful
and
mind.
eggs, you mentioned the steak and eggs for breakfast to those that are going out in the field and aren't going to be around a restroom or something. They want nature to call at the wrong time. I get it. That makes perfect sense.
We always thought there was something in our C rations when I was in, because that was one thing and even though the C rations were packed full of carbs, I mean, they were loaded with carbs, because, they want to keep up that energy out in the field. And, but one thing we noticed is we didn't have bowel movements. There was something about them C rations. Something was put in them things that stopped us up.
All right. So our topic is veganism on the decline. That's what we really wanted to talk about here. And the answer is yes, it's on the decline. And we already talked about some of the reasons why. But I have a bulleted list here that I put together. And then I also have an article that was written by a vegan, actually. And it's pretty interesting too. But some of the things that were brought out as to why the decline. So there's the cost of living crunch. Plant-based meats and milks often cost 15% or more than their animal equivalent. So that's part of it. Another part is taste, texture, and convenience failures. So many early adopters tried the products, found them not quite to their satisfaction, and reverted. And plant-based items are harder to cook at home or find when eating out. So vegan cooking seems labor intensive compared to throwing a steak on the grill. I would wholeheartedly agree with that. So to me, I think keto is the same way. You're trying to create all these little recipes and stuff when you're carnivore. It's literally just sizzle, sear, heat, and eat. That's all it is. So cultural and political backlash. Veganism got tied to wokeness and progressive signaling, moral superiority, and elitism in the public eye, which has triggered a pushback. And I would agree with that too. So that's an interesting reason why people are kicking against the goads when it comes to veganism. And then, of course, there's the hype cycle. The hype has really died off. And like David brought up, the ultra-processed food backlash. So they're seeing all these vegan products as really just another ultra-processed food, not natural. So why are you putting this thing in your mouth? So those are some reasons for the decline that I had on my punch list. Now, here's something that was written by a actual vegan. He says, in recent years, we've seen a shift and why veganism is no longer enjoying the same growth trajectory and even on the decline. So he lists these as the reasons. And this is interesting coming from a vegan. Nutritional challenges. A significant number of individuals have reported difficulties in maintaining optimal health on a vegan diet. The struggle to obtain adequate protein, essential fatty acids, and micronutrients like vitamin B12, iron, and omega-3 fatty acids have led some to reconsider the sustainability of veganism for long-term health.
You can't get B12 from vegetables.
Right.
You have to supplement.
Exactly. And which is why I often say that veganism isn't natural. It's sustainable today thanks to modern technology, but it's not natural because you couldn't have done it years ago without some sort of vitamin B12 source. The vegan also lists this as the second reason. The lectin load. Lectins can be problematic for some people when consumed in large quantities. So while cooking can reduce some lectin content, the risk of gut irritation or inflammation remains. So, yep. And remember, this is what, according to a vegan. That's why I find this so fascinating. He lists the third reason as ethical dilemmas. As the vegan movement grew, so did scrutiny of its ethical claims. Critics pointed out that not all vegan products are environmentally sustainable or ethically produced. The sourcing of some plant-based ingredients, such as avocados and almonds, have come under fire for contributing to deforestation, water shortages, and exploitative labor practices.
Yep.
And some of those I never heard of before. I would have thought about, the killing of all kinds of insects and furry little mammals to clear out the land in order to grow, vegan crops is what I would have thought he doesn't list that. But when you think of an ethical dilemma, that's the first thing that came to my mind.
Pesticides
Almond
are
trees
killing off
suck
the
up water
bees.
like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Their
Almond trees,
pesticides are killing off the bees, which you need the bees for the pollination. So, you're cutting your own throat.
Economic accessibility was this next reason. Despite the increase in vegan products, the cost of maintaining a balanced vegan diet is prohibitive for many. Fresh produce, especially vegan products and supplements, can add up, making veganism less accessible to a broader audience. So yeah, it would be expensive. And I would agree with that too. I think one of the reasons I enjoy my carnivore diet is my grocery bill has gone down as a carnivore. I actually save money and get healthier.
Yep.
Me too.
Yeah. And then there's the appeal of flexitarianism, the rise of flexitarian diets where individuals eat a predominantly plant-based and occasional animal products offers a more flexible approach. So, and then he lists, in addition to that, there's several nutritional hurdles of veganism. Protein intake is a primary concern. While plant-based sources like beans, lentils, tofu, and quinoa are protein-rich, they contain higher levels of lectins, and plant proteins often lack one or more essential amino acids, making it necessary to combine different sources to achieve a complete amino acid profile. So, and that's true also. And plants have incomplete protein. Animal protein, on the other hand, gives you I think it's nine essential amino acids are found in that animal protein. Micronutrient deficiency, we already talked about that. Vitamin B12 is only available in animal products. So iron from plant sources is not very bioavailable compared to meat, increasing the risk of anemia. And vegans struggle to obtain sufficient omega-3 fatty acids, particularly EPA and DHA, without algae-based supplements.
Yeah.
Hey, Bob.
Yes.
One thing that I found out, and it just shocked me, was all these vegetables that I was taking in, they had anti-nutrients in them, so I wasn't getting the vitamins that they advertise that you're supposed to be getting. And when I found out meat has absolutely no anti-nutrients, I mean, when I eat it, I get all of the vitamins. None of it gets pooped out, and so
right.
and
Yeah.
I mean, my body uses every bit of that meat. And
right. Every bit, which is why the stool frequency drops off, by the way. So, but yeah, that's true. The anti-nutrients bind to the nutrients. So, like, do you get some nutrients out of plant foods? Yes, you do. But a good portion of those nutrients that are in that plant food, if you're looking at the label, like, oh, this is how much of the percent of the whatever, the RDA of whatever nutrient I want is in this spinach or kale or whatever, you're only getting a fraction of it because the anti-nutrients bind to it. So does the fiber, by the way. And those vitamins and minerals that you were hoping to benefit your body end up passing right through your stool. And then some of them that you do take into your body, they're unusable in their plant form. And the body has to do a very intensive process to convert them to the animal form so that you can use it. And a good example of that is, I think, beta carotene has to be converted into retinol. That's vitamin A.
Yep.
You can't utilize beta carotene. But your body can convert it into retinol, but it doesn't do a very good job of it. It's not very efficient.
Exactly.
And, you could take the retinol. Right. You get the retinol from meat, especially liver or organ meat, and boom, you absorb all of it, and there's nothing getting in the way of it. It's already bioavailable. Another one is the omega-3s that they're mentioning in this article. You know, you get omega-3 fatty acids in the form of EPA and DHA from eggs, egg yolks, and fish. You absorb that right away. I can't remember the name of the omega-3 that's found in plants, but again, most of it will pass through your stool. Some of it the body can convert into the usable form of omega-3. It can convert it into EPA or DHA. I can't remember which one, but it's not a very efficient process. So you think you're eating something that's supposed to have a lot of omega-3 in it. You're actually not getting much benefit from it at all. Most of it just goes to waste.
Yeah.
So that's the downside of eating plants. You know, are some of them tasty? Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, unless you're still going to have to supplement, or else you're going to suffer nutritional deficiencies. The very thing they claim that a carnivore is going to suffer.
Well, according to Dr. Chafee, our bodies aren't even designed to break down those
Exactly.
You know, because we don't have the hind gut to ferment them.
Yeah.
You can't even break them down to extract what nutrients there are in them.
That's numero uno.
Well, you can extract some, because we do have.
You can extract some, but I'm saying when they say, oh, it has 50% of the RDA value, no, it doesn't. It may have it in there, but you can't retrieve it.
Right, absolutely.
The body is not designed to retrieve it, because you're not designed to eat that and digest it and utilize it. It's just like, okay, so a cow, when a cow eats grass, it's not extracting the nutrients from the grass so much as it's fermenting it and breaking down and getting the fat out, the fatty acids out of the plant. And that's what it's actually living off of, is the fatty acids. It's living off of fat just like we are.
And it's the bacteria in those stomachs that is doing the job.
Yeah.
We don't have that.
I mean, they're still eating fat just like we're eating fat, but they can break it down out of grasses, whereas we can't.
Yeah, I remember in the 1960s, I went to the New York State Fair, and they had a dairy cow where they opened up the stomach, and it looked like a clear plastic window so you could see in there and see what was going on. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. If you had to pick a diet, you should look at your digestive system and say, what can I digest most readily? Mm-hmm. And that's meat products, okay?
And I think that's what we're designed for. The strongest proof of this whole concept is
I'll be right back.
Is just looking at those who have I can't say the word. The bags, people that are on bags.
Irritable system, yeah.
You know, because they show the proof right there.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. Go to a family Christmas party, okay? And 2 young adults walk in. And one just in the last 3 months became a vegan. That person is going to get praises and glorified. And everybody's going, oh, what a wonderful thing you're doing. The other one says, well, I'm eating all beef. You know, I'm on the lion diet. Or you're going to die quick. You know, nobody wants to even talk to you. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, Jerry, you're right. Yeah, colostomy bag. I couldn't get the word out.
Colostomy bag. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard.
When I was working for 40 years, I drove a van pool to work, and so I had a lot of passengers. I had customers, and one of them on there, I would talk with all the time. She was not a vegan, but a vegetarian, and she was the one who taught me the difference between vegan and vegetarian. And I wasn't into diet and nutrition so much back then. I mean, I was doing Atkins, but even Atkins was ignorant, in its own right to some extent. But I still raised my own animals. I still raised animals for food. And I asked her one day, I said, so why exactly don't you eat meat? What's wrong with eating meat? And I mean, she drank milk. She ate eggs. She wasn't a vegan. She was a vegetarian. And she says, I just can't eat nothing that has a face. Okay, so you have a mental condition. That's why you're vegetarian. Of course, that kind of ticked her off when I said that.
Well, you know, Bar K often quotes the statistic that within 5 years, it's like 87% of all people on the vegan diet go off it, and 70% of them go off it for medical reasons. They're not meeting their nutritional needs,
Yeah.
and they've got an issue. And my son-in-law, he used to get in my daughter's face. I don't eat meat. Don't try to sneak it into the meals, you know? And one day he collapsed in the garage. Didn't want to, but had no choice. Dial 911, right? And doctor, after some tests and 4 or 5 hours, doctor comes in and says, you need 6 ounces of ground beef 3 or 4 times a week minimum. That's your issue.
Yeah, I believe it.
You know?
Well, I will say this vegetarian that was in our van pool, she was very, very unhealthy, very overweight, very sickly. And then on top of that, she smoked like a smokestack. So.
Yeah, I came back in the middle of a comment. I lost it already. You said something and I triggered a thought, and I was going to expound on it.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. So, don't eat anything with a face. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that reminds me of, we had a guest speaker in our congregation, and afterwards we took him and his wife out for something to eat, and they were looking at the menu, and it was important to her that they had, vegan or vegetarian options. And so I asked, I was like, do you do that for health reasons? Or this is before I was carnivore, so I didn't really know much better. I said, do you do that for health reasons, or do you do that for ethical reasons? And she said, I just feel like in order for me to eat, I don't think something should have to die in order for me to eat. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I can appreciate that. I can honor that. And I can, but the part that she fails to think about is even a plant is a living thing, and the plant has to die for her to eat too. So
I'm sorry, it's a cycle of life.
Unless it's
one
a
thing
fruit.
to live. Yeah. For one
Unless
thing to live, something else has to die.
Yeah. Unless it's a fruit. So obviously the fruit is designed to be eaten, but the plant itself, those roots, leaves, seeds, and stems. Yeah, it's actually dying. Highlighted this for some reason: fermented foods like pickles and sauerkraut, probably because I still have those from time to time. And even Papa Carnivore in a later comment says, I'm 90% carnivore because I drink coffee and sometimes have pickles or sauerkraut with my meat. Occasionally I have some jalapenos on my sardines. I haven't tried jalapenos on sardines. That actually sounds pretty good. But I do have, occasionally we make a roast in the crock pot. We put it in the morning and let it cook all day long. And I'll have that sometimes with a little sauerkraut. And I don't mind that either. There's a lot of carnivores are actually, they are okay or make an allowance for fermented foods. So
supposedly good for the gut bone.
Right. Okay.
Last week I mentioned I was going to cook up a tongue this week.
Right. How'd that go?
So, cooked up tongue. Excellent. Absolutely wonderful. I had years ago, I'd had lingua tacos off a food truck at work one time, and didn't care for the texture. They were chewy, and I thought, well, if this is what tongue is like, I don't want it. But anyways, we had a cow butchered, they gave us the tongue because I told them I wanted, the kidneys, the heart, the liver. I wanted the innards, and they went ahead and included the cheek meat, which is amazing. It's like oxtail. It's absolutely amazing, tender and fatty. Oh my gosh, it's so good. And they included the tongue, and I went, well, I didn't ask for this. Don't know if I really want it, but I'm going to give it a try. So I cooked it up, boiled it first for about 3 hours till it got good and tender, and the skin started to split. Skinned that puppy out, and then I sliced it thin and pan fried it in some tallow in my cast iron. And I'm going to tell you what, that's some good food. And then I looked up the nutritional contents of it, and it's more nutritious in its protein and fat than a ribeye steak.
How much did that thing weigh?
About 3 pounds, give or take.
A
2.5
3-pound tongue.
Yeah.
Well, they have a long tongue.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife asked me, which one did this come from? Let's see what she named them. I can't remember what their names were. But anyway, she asked me, she says, which one was this? And I said, why? She goes, well, one of them used to lick me with its tongue all the time. I just want to know which one that one was.
That's funny. Used to get little cow kisses.
Yeah.
Now we're
You
having
know,
this
when you live on a farm and you're in farming area and people do farming things, I never met a farmer that wasn't very highly respectful of the animals. And let's just say something was wrong with a cow. That came first.
Oh, yeah.
Helping that cow, doing whatever had to be done, that was first and foremost. Didn't matter about dinner or drink, a cigarette or anything. That animal came first.
I don't care what the weather is. I don't care what's going on. It doesn't matter. My animals eat first.
And
I got put through a wall one time because I took a nap. And Daddy come home and he jerked me up off that couch. I said, what are you doing sleeping? And I said, well, I was, after hauling dirt all day and school and baseball practice, and I was just tired, Dad. I took a nap when I come home. He said, so the animals ain't been fed yet. And I said, no, I'm sorry. I fell asleep. And he put me through a wall. And it's the only time he's ever done anything like that, because to him, I abused the animals because I didn't feed them. The first thing you do is you take care of them animals, period. And that's been ingrained in me ever since.
The most surprising thing to me was we had a neighbor who raised pigs, and he sold off, pig feeder pigs, and he had a boar that was big, and so the boar disappeared. And I said, "Where'd the boar go?" And he goes, "Well, he couldn't mount it. He couldn't do his job anymore, and he was in a lot of pain in his hips, I guess." So I said, "Oh," I says, "Where is he?" He says, "Up in the woodlot." And he just took that big boar up into the woodlot. When the boar wasn't looking, he put a bullet to his head and killed him quite instantly, and left him there to die and rot away and return to the earth. And he said, "This is the way it should be." And he explained to me his philosophy in about less than 20 words, and I thought, makes a lot of sense, And it's how it is.
All right. Let's catching up on some comments here. Papa Carnivore says he can eat a ton of fat and it doesn't bother him, but I tend towards hard stools like Jeff. So yeah. There's it is what it is.
It is what it is, and it don't stop me from being a carnivore.
Right.
If that's the worst it's ever get, I ain't too worried about it.
I'd rather have hard ones than loose ones myself. So that's
I lived with a lot of that
between
IBS and Crohn's disease.
Yeah. DS111 says, I just ate steak the way I like it, medium to well done, with salt and butter and tallow poured back onto it. I am unsophisticated. All right. Very good. Delicious. Yep. I like mine medium myself. Medium is my favorite. I can tolerate medium rare. I can tolerate medium well, and I'll choke down well done if I've made a mistake and overcooked it. But there ain't nothing wrong with any of that. Bart K, who everyone loves to cite, you go watch his videos. He prefers his steak well done. So
yeah, he ain't right. Of course, I like mine rare. You know, like we say down here. You know, wipe its butt, lob off its horns, and bring it out here to me.
All right. And going back to non-scale victories, we were talking about this earlier. So show you how behind we get, by the way. I'm an hour and 10 minutes behind on the comments. This one was posted at 8:47. So we're playing some catch up here. But we were talking about no boogies and no earwax for some of us. Latro Jenny Weil says had a change of oral biome, no plaque or cavities for a year now. Very good. And you know what? That I can relate to that non-scale victory too.
Me too.
Because I used to brush and have bleeding gums after brushing really bad. And I even went to the dentist before I started the carnivore diet. I just wanted a cleaning, but this idiot did this depth test to test the depth of my pockets with a needle. I hated it. And I had these really deep pockets. And he said that your roots are going to rot and your teeth are going to fall out. He recommended that I go see whatever the next step is up from a dentist, an orthodontist. And suggested I have this procedure where they cut your gums, they remove your gums and set them aside. And then they clean the roots of your teeth, and then they sew the gums back on, and you'll have more tooth exposed. Your teeth will look bigger afterwards because they don't put them back quite as back as where they were, which sounded absolutely horrifying.
It is.
And I obviously threw that paper away and never saw the orthodontist. But now I don't have any oral health issues that I'm aware of. Definitely no bleeding anymore. And I still brush regularly with an electric toothbrush, usually set on the intense setting. I'm good to go. So things have changed. They improved dramatically for me when it comes to oral health. No more gingivitis, no more periodontitis. Things are good.
Yeah, a military dentist did that to my mom years ago, and exactly the procedure you were talking about. And I remember how much misery she was in. It was horrible. And totally ruined. She lost every tooth in her mouth because of it. Ended up with full upper and lower plates. And and after that, she started. We started going to a civilian dentist instead of the military. And a civilian dentist just flat told her, he says, "They ruined you. I could have saved those teeth. That didn't have to happen."
Yeah, and so now I know that what he said could have been what would happen to me if I didn't change my diet, because I do have classmates that I graduated with that are my age whose teeth are randomly falling out because they have deep pockets and they have issues and their roots start to decay and they're losing their teeth, which even that sounds horrible to me. All of a sudden have a tooth get loose and lose an adult tooth. I couldn't even imagine. Ooh. So I know the possibility was there, but like I said, once I got that diagnosis, I did up my oral hygiene and I went on a carnivore diet, and between the two, I think I'm as good as gold there in the teeth as far as the teeth is concerned.
Well, that's the only phobia. The only fear I really have is dentists, and it's bad. It's a bad phobia, like I told and I've got a great dentist, but I only go when there's something wrong. She keeps trying to get me in there for, checkups and whatnot, and cleanings. Nah, I ain't coming in to see you. And I mean, she ain't but 5 foot nothing and slap built and everything. And I told her one time, I said, let me tell you, I said, I hunt wild boar with nothing but a knife and a dog. I wade through pits full of rattlesnakes. I hunt bear with nothing but a stick and a string. But you, young lady, you terrify me. And that's true. I'm terrified of dentists. So I do all I can to take care of my teeth. And all my teeth are stress fractured. I've only got one false one, and it's a bridge that over here, and that was from a car wreck. But all my teeth are stress fractured from a bad car wreck I had back in 1980. So I do all I can to take care of my teeth. And carnivore has been the absolute best thing for my oral health, bar none.
Same here.
We're gonna throw this.
I had severe dentophobia. Severe.
Yeah. Yeah. Military dentist ruined me.
We're gonna throw this comment in out of order. How much magnesium citrate is a good amount to take, Geezy?
I don't know. The recommended dose is, and somebody else had commented earlier, and I missed it. They asked milligrams or grams, because I was saying milligrams, and I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the label, but on the label it will tell you the dosage, and I think 400. I want to say milligrams, if that's correct. 400 milligrams a day is what they would take. And I'm taking 400 today, but I'm splitting it up between morning and evening because the pills that I've got are 200 milligrams each, and it says take two at a time. I take one in the morning, one in the evening. That's just the routine I've worked out for me, and it's working for me. And then once a week on a Wednesday, I will take 2 of those 200 in the morning and 2 in the evening. So I'm taking upwards for that one day. I'm taking 800. And right now, that's working for me. My stools are still hard. I'm still passing gravel, but they're passing easier. If I do any more than that, then it becomes peanut butter, and that ain't fun. Sorry to be so gross, but that's just how it is.
No, that's okay.
So right now, what I'm working is, or what I'm doing is working for me. You know, for you, you might need less. You might need the prescribed dose, you know, as recommended, or you might need more. You just have to experiment and find out for yourself. Be your own N of one.
All right. Very good. Okay. Well, thanks for answering that. And it is in milligrams, by the way. So,
right.
Yeah. So yeah, for men, they say to take at most 400 up to it's up to 400 milligrams. For women, it's up to 320. And then, you know, like if you have a situation like me with some impaired kidney function, you got to be careful with that. You know, you might have to take a lower dose because you're not clearing it as fast as you should. Too much magnesium, just like too much potassium, just like too much sodium. I mean, too much of anything can do you wrong. But if you have normal functioning kidneys, you should be able to supplement, and whatever your body doesn't need, your kidneys are going to excrete just fine, and it's almost a non-issue for you. So, but you know, you got to do, if you have any other, especially if you have kidney issues, you got to be careful with electrolytes. All righty.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
On the it's called Mag 8 that I was very regular with, and I stopped taking it, and then I had the constipation problem. It's Mag 8 magnesium complex. It says 23 mg on it, and that's but it's 426 milligrams for a serving size of 3 capsules.
Okay.
And this is what it looks like, guys. So that's what was keeping me, and I got off of it, and I'm back on it again. So it's 8 different forms of magnesium, and it's maybe very similar to yours. Let's see, this is magnesium citrate, magnesium biglycinate, magnesium taurate, magnesium oxide, magnesium malate, magnesium L-aspartate, magnesium orotate, and magnesium ascorbate. So all of those. I don't know which one of those kept me regular, but I'm back on it again.
Yeah, that's interesting there. Yeah, so that's a little AI responsive, which you were just talking about. Let's see if I can find mine here. This is what I take here. The Zentastic Magnesium 4-in-1 supplement. It's magnesium glycinate, malate, taurate, and lactate. That's what I take. And they are 60 milligram capsules. So 3 per serving is 240. That's why I got 240 divided by 3 is 60. Because I'll only take 1 once in a while. But it does say, but I know according to common knowledge, you can take up to 400 a day. So, that's 3 capsules. So you technically could take up to 6 of this if you were going for that large of a supplement. So, but I don't think there's a need to really macro supplement too many things. I'm more into like micro supplement. And let's see here.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be taking these if I didn't expel the electrolytes. But since I've been on carnivore, I don't keep them. They go out in my urine.
Yeah. All right. So here's a comment that actually is kind of worth considering. Never take a supplement that uses magnesium oxide. And as a general rule, anything oxide, it's oxidized, and that's not really good for you. So, but in that you're talking 8 magnesiums. So only 1/8 of that is, if that is magnesium oxide. So is it going to be all that bad? Probably not. I don't think I'd worry about it too much. But yeah, if you're going for a magnesium supplement, most people will recommend the most ones that get recommended are magnesium glycinate, just straight magnesium glycinate, or if it's to help move your stools along, they recommend magnesium citrate. So, but a lot of people will go out and they'll buy a bottle that's just pure magnesium oxide. It's usually cheaper. That's actually, you actually don't want to take magnesium oxide as a supplement. You want to, any other form of magnesium is a better choice than magnesium oxide. I wouldn't worry about the little tiny bit in your preferred complex though, Dave. So I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue.
And I guess the reason why it worked is because citrate is the first one.
So it's probably it's probably got the higher concentration.
But I switched to the glycinate, and I still have glycinate.
Right.
And it's good for sleep. And also, well, I think any of the magnesiums are pretty good for the muscles, but I understand glycinate is one of the better ones to keep the muscles from cramping.
Yeah. Glycinate's high bioavailability. Citrate is the laxative. Malate promotes energy production and muscle function. Taurate supposed to be good for cardiovascular health. Orotate, heart health. Aspartate, muscle recovery. Chloride, detoxifying properties. And oxide is less bioavailable. It actually says here no benefit.
You're just peeing it out, I guess.
Yeah, it's just for high magnesium content, but that's it. All right.
And your CMP blood lab shows your magnesium, potassium, sodium, and chloride is a part of it's like 13 or 14 things in that test. And I check mine every 6 months, and just to see if you're on the level,
Let's see. I always thought that I'd order my magnesium separately. Oh, okay.
Well,
oh my gosh,
there's more than one. There's more than one magnesium test or indicator. I don't know what you call it, but
yeah, magnesium's not included in a CMP. It's not as a standard. Yeah, they have to get a magnesium as a separate test.
Oh, it's I was just looking at mine a few days ago, and it was all 4 of them were there. So that's all I know.
Okay, maybe they ordered a magnesium in addition to the CMP. So
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. All right, Carnivore Jerry, has anyone taken or heard of the brand Bio Optimizers? Lily Kane promotes it. Is it good or just pricey? I don't know anything about it.
Don't know.
I don't know anything about it, but I do say I like and trust Lizzie Kane a lot. And I don't think she would promote something that was junk. So Bio Optimizers. Page not found. Okay, let's go to Amazon.
The hell is a Bio Optimizer?
That's the name brand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that has 7 forms of magnesium. So it's similar to what David was just holding up.
Oh, okay.
It has magnesium chelate, magnesium bisglycinate, sucrosomial magnesium, magnesium malate, magnesium orotate, taurate, citrate. Yeah, so I'm sure it's okay. It's got 7 forms of magnesium. So yeah, that'd be a well-rounded magnesium complex. I'm sure it's just fine. So let's see here.
What was that brand? What was that brand name again? Bio
Optimizers.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, it's readily available on Amazon.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Let's see.
Bio optimizers.
Yep, Bio Optimizers. Okay. Wow, you guys are almost caught up. Good. Actually, we're not. I have 21 starred comments from the past. Some of the current comments were relevant to our current discussion. So here's something that I hadn't heard of before. What I find is too much rendered fat will contribute to loose bowels. Raw fat and butter, no such effect. That's interesting. I actually have not tested the difference between the two.
I've heard that more than once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. We have people say kidneys with creatine, but does it really? I don't understand the comment, but I will say, since I am the kidney expert here, so if you take creatine supplements, you will produce more creatinine, because that's creatine is protein, creatinine is protein waste. So if you supplement creatine, you will produce more creatinine, which will lower your EGFR and give the illusion that your kidney function is on a downward decline, a downward slope. And it might freak out your PCP when the next time you get a CMP blood test, they'll be like, oh my gosh, something's wrong with your kidneys, and it could actually be you're just taking too much creatine supplements. And if you stop, those numbers will revert back to normal. I have the same issue with a carnivore diet. I have stage 4 chronic kidney disease. I went on a carnivore diet. And then now, if you do a CMP and look at my kidney numbers, I'm dead or should be on dialysis, should have been on dialysis years ago. But that number's skewed, it's overinflated, it's not reliable because I'm eating a lot of protein and my kidneys just don't excrete the creatinine as fast as someone with healthy kidneys would. So that happens. And it happens to a lot of bodybuilders and a lot of carnivores. Is their creatinine goes up from either so much rigorous exercise or from so much protein consumption that their kidney numbers look off and they get scared. And then what does the doctor say? It's your diet that's damaging your kidneys, because that's what it looks like. And then they go off the carnivore diet because they think it's damaging their kidneys, but it's not. So carnivore diet will not harm your kidneys.
Well, I have my kidneys with lots of butter and a little bit of salt. I drink my creatine on the side.
Some people have their kidneys thrown in and minced up with hamburger meat.
Kidneys good eating.
Carnivore Jerry says would like to give a big shout out to the graduating Kilt's Mighty Tribe coaching class of 2026. Yes, very good. There's a lot of them too. If you attended the Zoom tonight and saw the list, there's quite a few.
There's something like 90, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people. So, and that's because they made it affordable. So a lot of people were able to jump on board. Papa Carnivore says he picked up a nasty cold during his trip to San Antonio. He's fatigued, has a runny nose, and is sneezing like crazy. Well, I hope you feel better soon.
Yeah.
Yep, that's too bad. All right. Latrogeny Weil, however you pronounce that, got steamed clams, appetizer, and 80-20 burgers tonight.
Sounds good.
Sounds delicious. Sounds better than my chicken meatballs I had. So very good.
I had chicken salad.
All right.
And I got to mention, my wife did something different with the chicken salad. Of course, she'll take a roasted chicken, and she'll chop it all up. And hers, she'll put pickles and onion. And mine, she just does the carnivore mayo and eggs. but she did something different this time. She put bacon in it, chopped up a bunch of bacon and put in it.
Oh yeah.
I'd never had bacon in chicken salad, and I'm gonna tell you what, that's a game changer. That is some good stuff. I eat that with pork rinds this evening after I got home from the gym. Man, it's good.
You ever see the comedian Jim Gaffigan?
I think so. Yeah.
He's got he has a couple skits. He's famous for his Hot Pockets skit, and he does another one with like Bible characters from the past. But he does this one with bacon, and he says that bacon is like magic fairy dust. It turns everything into something delicious. He's like he uses a salad for a reference. He's like a salad. Ugh, who wants to eat that thing? Sprinkle some bacon on it. Now it's a 4-course meal.
Love that bacon.
Yep. Bacon. Oh, the problem with protein powders is they still need to be consumed in 80 to 20 fat protein ratio. People don't add the fat. And the reason I highlighted this is my wife was ordering keto chow for a while, which is actually a very good product. So they're doing a good thing over there. And so they're basically different flavored shakes and their protein and vitamins and their mixture. And so, I mean, it's a processed food like any other kind of shake mix, but you can make it any way you want. But the recommendation is to use like heavy cream. So you use their, 8 ounces or 8 to 16 ounces of heavy cream in one of their packets, and you blend it up, and then you get all the fat, because they promote keto. And true keto is a high-fat diet, so you can make these protein shakes, use heavy cream, and that way you're getting your proper fat in there as well. That's the only reason why I highlighted this, because I thought that was interesting. That is true, but keto chow
never even considered that. I don't do protein powders, but I had never thought about it. I know a lot of people that do.
Yeah. Use the heavy whipping cream as a base. Or 50-50 water with heavy whipping cream, or you could do 50-50 milk with heavy whipping cream just to get that extra fat.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. We're going to jump over here real quick. I heard people with kidney issues shouldn't take creatine. Do you know if there's any truth to that? And if there is, why? So I haven't researched creatine and kidney disease specifically, but I can rationalize that it's because when you take creatine, you're going to produce more creatinine, which is the waste product. And if your kidneys aren't filtering that out, if your kidneys are impaired, then creatinine is going to build up in your blood. And so when they do the blood test, they measure your creatinine, and then they do a calculation to figure out your EGFR, estimated glomerular filtration rate, I think is how you pronounce it. And that's an estimate of how well your kidneys are excreting waste. And it's only an estimate. But if your creatinine is built up in your blood, then they estimate that your kidneys aren't functioning very well. So if you take creatine, you're going to have more creatinine flowing in your blood that your kidneys aren't getting rid of in a timely fashion. So you're going to see your creatinine numbers go up and your EGFR go down, and it's going to give the illusion that you're doing more kidney damage. Now, there's other things you can test for to see if you really are or are not, like a cystatin C test, 24-hour urine collection, and whatnot. So that's why they say that, and that's why they say if you have kidney disease, and I'm stage 4, borderline stage 5, mainstream medicine says you need to become a vegetarian right away. Why? Because people who become vegetarians often see their creatinine go down, and in turn their EGFR go up, and it gives the illusion that your kidneys are getting better. But they're not. You're just not producing creatinine anymore because you're not consuming protein. And so, if you can artificially fudge your blood results, you can go vegetarian a month before you have your blood results done, or even just a couple weeks, your creatinine will be low and your kidney numbers will look better. You know, you can also do the same thing with like drinking a lot of water right before the blood test, because that dilutes your blood and dilutes the creatinine content in the blood draw. Why would you want to do that? So anyway, that's why I think that's where I think that comes from. So off the top of my head, I would guess that there's probably nothing wrong with taking creatine, but modern medicine is going to say, oh, it makes your kidneys work harder because they see those blood markers change in what looks like a negative direction. And I think that's a false flag. So that's where that comes from. Yeah. Carnivore Jerry says, not a question, but this is a comment. Costco will no longer be selling their real bacon pieces in a bag. Oh, how sad. That's Paul.
You know, on the creatine subject, something I should mention on that is that if you're taking creatine to prevent muscle loss or to get muscle back because of muscle loss, like what I'm doing now, creatine by itself will not do that. You must lift heavy weights. You must push yourself. If you are not working out, if you're not exercising, if you're not lifting weights, that creatine ain't going to do a thing for you, except just put on water weight. So make sure that you're putting it as part of an exercise plan. Or in my case, I'm training. I'm not exercising. I'm training. I'm trying to build muscle back up.
Some people switch to carnivore because they want to have more muscles. You know, other people, they gain muscle by eating carnivore, and then they don't gain any muscle. And you got to do the same thing. You're not going to gain muscle unless you put in the effort. You've got
to break that tissue down and build it back up. It's the only way it's going to work. And to do that, exercising won't do it. That's the difference between exercising and training. You know, somebody who's exercising, they're just doing the same thing over and over and over, and they build nothing. Do they maintain? Yes, they maintain, but they don't gain. If you want to gain, you have to stress the muscle, and then you have to properly recover. So it's a stress recover thing, you know. But like I said, the creatine ain't going to do a thing for you if you ain't pushing your body.
Jamette says, good evening to everybody. She's listening but doesn't feel good. I hope you feel better too. I'm glad you're here and enjoying the program, though. Bill Cook says he skips flu vaccines here and there, usually gets one every 3 or 4 years. So that's kind of the same way. Like, I don't go out of my way. I don't go out of my way to get any vaccine. But I do get, regular doctor visits every 3 months, usually because of my kidney condition. They want to see me every 3 months. And, my kidney doctor sees me twice a year, but my PCP wants to see me every 3 months because of my LDL. And so if it's the fall, and then he'll be like, hey, you want a flu shot while you're here? And I'll be like, yeah, sure. I don't care. So I'm not, like I said, I have nothing against them. Never had a problem with them. This is an interesting comment too. Carnomofo. In 2021, the CDC changed the definition of vaccine from providing immunity to providing protection. And I will say that was annoying. Is they kept talking about they kept talking about, you were trying to get immunity. There was population-wide immunity, there was vaccine immunity, and then they started talking about increased immunity. And I'm like, what do you mean increased immunity? Immunity is immunity. Immunity means can't get it. So yeah, I do hate that they use the word immunity. And they use it wrong, so not according to its definition. I don't care what the CDC says the definition is. Immunity means immune, Like if you're on Survivor and you get the immunity idol, that means you can't be voted out on the next time, So
I'll stay off the soapbox this time.
Yeah. So I agree with you there. And that's the reason I highlighted it, is because I do have to agree with that gripe. Don't use the word immunity if you don't mean immunity. So
I don't know who the Spanky Gold golf addict is, but I'm getting a kick out of him.
And so CB Carmack said when they had COVID the first time, felt like they were going to die. Second time, it felt like a minor cold the first day and well the next day. So similar to mine. The first time I had it, it was worse than any cold or any flu that I had ever had. I hacked and coughed so much. The phlegm was so sticky that I would cough and cough and cough trying to clear my throat that I lost my voice, and I lost it for about 10 days. The second time I had it, it wasn't nearly as bad. I still had the sticky phlegm, and but after 5 days I was fine, and I went back to work, but it still took me like another 2 weeks to fully get all that out of my lungs. You had cough and spit. Don't cough and swallow. That's gross, And so yeah, but yeah, and I don't think I had it a third time. But yeah, everybody around here that's had it, each subsequent time, it gets better and better. Probably because you have a new level of immunity, according to the CDC. So, CB Carmack says, Bob's next video. Before we get into this video, I'd like to mention we're sponsored by Pfizer. That's funny. This is the second time this week, and it's only Monday, that I heard people say, if I had a gun, I would have killed myself. Please, suicide is real. We should think before we speak. So yeah, thank you for the reminder. Of course, nobody that said that, especially Paul, meant to have that taken literally. So there's people use I can't remember the name of that, but when you exaggerate as a figure of speech, you're trying to just highlight just how bad you felt, But no, he wouldn't literally have taken a gun and shot himself. It's a figure of speech. So to try and
I said I think last week when I was talking about a friend of mine that actually used that exact phrase. She was so miserable that it scared me and made me tell her everything I could about nutrition and how to fix her condition, because she had an autoimmune disease. And of course, the comment I got was, "Oh, I just couldn't give up my hamburgers." Okay, you'll say something like that, but you won't give up your hamburgers.
I would say that obviously, there's other people who are depressed and will use this language regularly, and that's someone you might want to, talk to, get some counseling, or keep your eye on. Yeah. So that is true. So there are some people who will regularly hint towards and use language like this before taking their life. So that is true. But
right.
I think
in this case, my friend was just being melodramatic.
Right. Melodramatic. That's a good way. There's a hyperbole, I think might be the term I'm thinking of, but we do appreciate the reminder, Carnivore Jerry. We thank you for bringing that up.
Every person I know that has gone that far, shall we say, never talked about it. The signs might have been there, but they never talked about it. I wish they had. You're muted, David.
My emotions just really evened out when I gave up vegetation. I don't have the anxiety. I don't have the depression. It just went away. And,
same here.
As on a carnivore diet. Now, I dealt with that all my life. So that's cool.
Me too.
Bob. Yeah,
Me
cool.
too. Earlier, I was talking, to Lexus about how I was more confident in my 30s than I was in my 20s. My 20s, I really had a lot of emotional issues. I became more stable in my 30s, but I still had problems with negative thinking and depression. And since I've been carnivore, I have not had. I may work myself into a tizzy now and again with an extreme circumstance, but generally speaking, I don't struggle with negative thinking and feelings of depression anymore like I used to back when I was eating junk and my health was junk. So I think there's a lot of validity to, proper food is going to heal your mind as well. So
it definitely helps. Now, me, I've only suffered one bout of depression in my life, and that was when I was laid off, and the job I was working was killing me, and it was beating me down 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. And uh, I went through 2 or 3 days of depression, and then snapped myself out of it by saying, "Hey, dummy, you got a family to take care of. Get your butt out of bed and go to work." But I've never really suffered from any kind of anxiety or anything like that. Mine has always been anger. And I've been a volatile person most of my life. I've always been quick to fight. I've worked jobs where it was my job to fight. And since I've started carnivore, I'm amazed what people can now get away with around me. Because there was a time I was very defensive, and you might even say a chip on my shoulder. And between my walk with the Lord and carnivore, a lot of that has gone away. My wife's noticed it. People don't have to walk on eggshells around me near as much. So it's done wonders for my attitude. It's helped bring me down to a more even keel. And I appreciate that. Although I will admit I was doing some fence work the other day, and I was getting frustrated, and I did throw a tool down on the ground. Get very angry. But that's rare these days.
Mm-hmm.
I had a little temper tantrum, and then I prayed about it and asked for forgiveness for losing my temper. But like I said, it's rare these days.
All right. Well, you're still human.
Yes, I am.
You're still an imperfect human. So
yeah,
as we all are. Here's
imperfect,
something.
but forgiven.
Yep. The vegan-friendly version of B12 is derived from cyanide, cyancoabalamin, versus methylcoabalamin. So yeah, I do know that the vegan-friendly version of B12 does contain some cyanide. So it's one of those small amounts that get detoxified, pretty much right away. It's still a scary thought, though. So, and if you take too much of it, it poisons in the dose, right? So, you want to take too much B12 that you can't detoxify all of it, and some of that actually gets in your body. So, but yeah, definitely a scary thing. So I took the chat off the screen because it was covering your face. So seeing what you're laughing at. All right. Anyway,
I was laughing at Latro.
Mm-hmm.
He was just saying I'm a hot rod mechanic as a hobby.
Uh-huh.
As a hobby, I'm sure he meant. Talk about throwing tools and language.
Yeah.
Well, look at my tool board behind me. I was a mechanic for 41 years. I can relate. I've got the busted knuckles to prove it.
Has anyone ever seen the contents of a colostomy bag?
Yes.
So, yeah, we like to bring this up often. The colostomy bag, the contents of the colostomy bag look like the contents that went in the mouth. It's almost unchanged sometimes, depending on what you eat. Yeah. So proving that a lot of plant matter is indigestible. Dave, I think you're muted. Yeah.
Except for the beef, you won't find it in a colostomy bag. It was completely digested.
That's right. Yeah, and 95% of it probably absorbed too, if not all of it.
That's where Kent Carnivore just has the absolute best testimony, on YouTube. Yeah. I sure appreciate him for his testimony.
Me too.
Charger Mopar says he's somehow gone decades without supplements. That's because he's been a carnivore for 42 years. And as a carnivore, you don't need to supplement. You get everything the human body needs. So
yeah,
he's still working on that heart attack, though.
Right. He's trying hard.
Amazing how healthy all of us would be if we'd been a carnivore for 40 years.
Really?
Well, if I knew then what I know now, I may have avoided kidney disease and all kinds of stuff. So,
yep,
it'd have been nice. Latro Jenny Weil says, never heard of my toothpaste. Boca Nano Hydroxyapatite on Amazon. So I have heard of that. So I haven't used it yet. I know a lot of people like it. There's some people that are anti nano hydroxyapatite and won't touch it. And I know other people that, because they're anti-fluoride, they will go for the nano hydroxyapatite. I honestly don't think it matters what you brush your teeth with, as long as you brush your teeth. So, and spit it out. Don't swallow any of that. So, and I'm just repeating what I heard from a carnivore dentist. So, all right. My son-in-law was a vegetarian all his life. He went carnivore over a year ago and can't believe how great he feels and how quickly all his ailments went away. And my daughter went carnivore with him. That's awesome.
Good job.
Good. Very good.
Well, and that's what we always hear. We hear more of the vegetarian and vegans coming to carnivore than we hear of carnivores going to the other side. So there's got to be something to that.
Not that the reverse doesn't ever happen. I
No.
do know of some instances where it has, but usually it's because they're it's just still in the way that they were raised, and they can't shake that vegan mentality. So.
I know a girl that was raised vegan. She was raised in the Seventh-day Adventist community. There's a small town here in Texas that is 100% Seventh-day Adventist. I mean, you go in town, you won't find cigarettes in the store, you won't find alcohol. I mean, none of that stuff's allowed in their town. And she has tried to eat meat, and her body just will not accept it. It's been because it's been doing it for 40 years. She's eaten nothing but vegan.
But they don't eat a lot of processed food, though, do they?
No.
So that's
Not at all.
You're healthier just not eating the processed food.
Very true.
All right. Let's see here. Diabetes, give it an inch and it'll take a foot.
Ooh, that's dark.
That is true. It's true, though. Carnivore Jerry says keto chow can be made with either heavy whipping cream or butter. Oh, that would be interesting. You'd have to melt the butter down, though, and then it would be a warm drink. So at least the heavy whipping cream, it can be cold drink. At least I would think, right? You got it to liquefy butter. It's got to be warmed up. Spanky says, the only plants I eat is broccoli, carrots, and then only fruit I eat is blueberries and my Siggy's vanilla yogurt. I am now ketovore. I was strict carnivore 6 months and now 12 months of ketovore. I have nothing wrong. I have no problems with that.
Whatever works for you.
Yeah. My food philosophy is eat real food, and you have to be able to hunt it or pluck it off a vine or a branch. That's kind of my personal rules. I could expand that to if it comes from the earth, if it comes from the air, or if it comes from the sea, then it's probably fair game. If it comes from a factory or comes in a package that can sit on a shelf and not expire for potentially years, don't touch it. So I have no problem with you eating broccoli, carrots, or blueberries. And vanilla yogurt, I'd just be a little concerned. Is that sugar-free? So... but if that's working for you, that's great. And a lot of people, they go on a carnivore diet, they get down to a weight that they want, and then they add things back in. And as long as they stay all naturals, single ingredient whole foods, they fare pretty well. So that's just fine. You also say you have a golf buddy that's been strict vegan for 25 years, I guess. Healthy as a horse still, supposedly. He's 83 years old and still a really good golfer, still hits the ball a mile, a freak of nature. So, yeah, again, when we say vegan, what do we mean? Do we mean vegan eating all kinds of ultra-processed foods? Do we mean vegan is still eating like Oreos and candy and junk food, or do we mean vegan who's eating a single ingredient whole foods diet? And are we talking, obviously he must be supplementing too. So like I said before, veganism, we're not here to shame them, or tell them they're wrong or anything like that. Veganism is certainly sustainable today thanks to modern technology. You have to go get a vitamin B12 supplement and other supplements. You wouldn't have been able to do veganism in centuries past without severe malnutrition by the time you're 83 years old. But today it can be done. So, and if that's working for him, that's great.
Yeah. And Bob, I would eat lots of plants. I mean, there's a lot of things that I love to eat that they don't love me. So
Right.
I personally have to stay away from it. But if it's working for Spanky or anybody, I mean, that's, you do you.
Yeah.
Well, there was one comment on there about vegetables, which I thoroughly 100% agree with, that vegetables are nothing more than a vehicle for butter.
Yeah, there it is.
Copious amounts. There you go. Vessel for a ton of butter. You bet.
Yeah.
Well, that's when I've never liked vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was born a carnivore and didn't even know it. Because all my life I've hated vegetables. Never could stand them. The only thing I liked was corn and potatoes, and even then, tons of butter. But it wasn't until my son pointed out to me, because I grew a garden. When I became carnivore, I had a beautiful garden. It was one of my dreams when I retired, was to have a really nice garden. And I did. And I grew heirloom vegetables. I didn't grow the standard. I wanted the old style vegetables, what I consider the real vegetables. So I grew nothing but heirlooms. And I produced some good veggies. But my son asked me one night, because I told him when he was telling me about carnivores, man, but there's some, I like, the vegetables I grow. I like them. He says, okay, Dad, well, go out and take a head of that romaine lettuce you grow and just eat it. Just sit right down here and eat it. I said, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to, put some cheese on it and some meats on it and this, that, and the other thing and some dressing. He says, exactly. He says, you're not eating the vegetable for the vegetable. You're eating the vegetable for what you put on the vegetable. And I had to admit, when I thought about it, he was 100% right. It's just like my zucchini. Oh man, I love my zucchini, but what did I do with it? I slathered it in butter. I put a bunch of seasoning on it, and then I sprinkled cheese over the top of it, and I stuck it in the oven. It wasn't the zucchini I like. If I really truly liked the zucchini, I'd have been eating it without all that junk on it. Very few people eat their vegetables 100% plain. Now, I can take a steak, and I don't have to put salt on it. I don't have to put nothing on it. Cook it and eat it, and it still tastes wonderful. I could never do that with any vegetable. I've had one vegetable in my life that I've ever been able to eat with nothing on it, and that was some sweet corn that one of my wife's relatives grew up in Colorado. They were farmers. All her relatives are farmers up there, and they grew some sweet corn that you didn't need nothing with it. It was almost sacrilege to put butter on it. It was so sweet.
Yeah, and then I was also thinking, Dave, when we were talking about this guy that's been 83-year-old that's been vegan for 25 years. One of the things that you were doing, we were talking about juicing earlier, was you were eating all this raw vegetables, which are going to have more plant toxins, oxalates, lectins, and things in them. Maybe this 83-year-old cooks all his vegetables thoroughly, and that's going to make them less toxic and more tolerable as well. So between preparation methods and supplementation, he can pull this off. And then, interestingly, Jeff, like I agree about making vegetables taste better with what you season them with, but I like my brother hates vegetables for the most part. At least he did when he was young, and I think he's gotten a little better today. But my parents, when I was little, before he arrived, they made me eat whatever they made. And so at a very young age, I acquired a taste for anything. And there's hardly anything out there that I would not eat and would not enjoy. So there are some vegetables that I enjoy. There's some that I miss that I won't touch ever again because I'm smarter now. I know what's in them. I know about the anti-nutrients, the toxins in them, and so I'm not going to let them pass through over these lips again. But I do have fond memories of some of the dishes that I used to eat back before I became a carnivore. So
Oh yeah, I used to be forced to eat vegetables. They put them on my plate, and I wasn't allowed to leave that dinner table until they were all gone.
I was raised
Of
the
course,
same way.
when I could, I snuck as many of them to my dog as I could. She'd sit right there by my chair, and I'd sneak as many as I could to her. But I never developed a taste for them until I didn't develop a taste for them until I learned to put a bunch of junk on them.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't until after I got married, because my wife, same thing as my parents. You got to eat vegetables. You got to eat vegetables. And so I just learned to doctor them up to the point where I couldn't taste the vegetable, and all I could taste was the stuff I was putting on them. And so then I thought I had learned to like them when I didn't. I just learned to cover up the taste of them. So like I said, I have never liked, but that's just me. I know there's plenty of people that love vegetables, and they can eat them plain. Even a tomato, I learned, I grew some nice tomatoes, and I still, as much as I liked eating tomatoes, as much as I liked the flavor of them, I still didn't eat them plain. They still had to have salt and pepper on them. But I know people that pick them up. I know people who pick up an onion and just eat it like an apple.
Ooh, I can eat a tomato like an apple. I do prefer a salt shaker nearby when I do. Except for the little cherry tomatoes, I can eat those plain. They just
when I was eating apples, tomatoes, I could only eat homegrown tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Could not eat store-bought. Store-bought were horrible. But I won't even eat the homegrown anymore.
Spanky says, still love my steamed broccoli with a lot of butter and salt. Still better than processed food, right?
Exactly.
Or sugar. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're keto, broccoli is a very good option. So, if you're doing keto, you want to stay more towards the low carb, cruciferous type vegetables. Broccoli, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, and those things are very low carb. And what Latro Jenny Wild says here, there are no nutrients in veggies. That's not exactly true. But a lot of them you don't absorb because they're not in the bioavailable form. And then a lot of them with the anti-nutrients, they bind in your gut and pass right through your stool. They are carbs. I do like the taste now and then. Look at a package of dried veggies and see that there's nothing but carbs. And that's true. Most vegetables are all carb. You might find some with a little fat or a little protein in them. The proteins are incomplete, like beans, high protein. The proteins are incomplete. And but most of it's carbs. But the reason I say about the low carb veggies, like the cruciferous vegetables, is because a lot of those carbs are fiber, which is indigestible. That's going to pass right through you, and bind a lot of nutrients on the way too. So, if you just love variety and you prefer being ketovore and you enjoy your broccoli and whatnot, again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's still part of a proper human diet that humans have been eating since time immemorial.
Yeah, the thing, I think, some people quit eating. I don't eat vegetables because I don't like them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but some people don't eat vegetables because they see no need to eat them. They do nothing for their health, for their body, for their nutrition. So they just choose not to put that in their body. Makes no sense to eat. Might as well eat some cardboard. Makes no sense to eat it if you can't get any nutrition out of it or much nutrition. If you can get everything you need from meat, so they choose to eat meat, and that's like Chafee and Baker and them, especially Chafee. He's the one that states that all the time.
Mm-hmm. They also say, fantastic session. Glad I found you live. Dave in Texas, a few blocks away from the Firefly headquarters. So I'm not a Texan, so I don't know what that is.
I am, and I don't know what that is. I even did a quick look on my map to see if anything would come up, but I didn't come up with nothing. So
Dave, are you in Texas, or is this Latro Greenwile, Genuile? Is that person also named Dave?
There's another Dave, I guess.
Another Dave in the chat, maybe? Okay. All right.
I'm not in Texas. I'm in Kentucky.
Okay. They also say cherry tomatoes, arugula, smoked bacon. So I do like, obviously, bacon and cherry tomatoes. I don't even know what arugula is.
it's a lettuce. You're talking about a BLT.
Oh, okay. Okay. So like in a mixed salad, some of that leaf is an arugula. I wouldn't even know. So Josephine Cowley says, same 60 to 70% of my food since I turned 16 was meat. Before that, skin and bone and sick 24/7, while 90% fruit and veg, not good, slowly healing. Okay, yeah. Yeah, we've talked about in the past too, some fruitarians that, were prominent influencers on social media who have died and died young because all they would eat was raw fruit. And they when they died, they were skin and bone too. So yeah, that's why we're all about a carnivore centric diet here. We believe in the power of meat, and that we are, again, if you're going to use a label, hyper carnivores, meaning 70% of the food you consume is going to come from an animal source or more, 70% or more. So, and if you want to still eat a little fruit or vegetable, perfectly fine. So maybe, unless you have some chronic illnesses or autoimmune diseases that you would like to reverse, then you should nix the plants and see if they don't go away. Because a lot of times it's the plants that are at the root of those issues. So always got to add that there as a caveat. So, and with that, we are caught up, and it is 11 o'clock. We're right on time. Just finished all the comments. Very good. All right. Well, it was a nice topic. Anything else we want to say in closing?
Well, I appreciate you holding this space, Bob and Jeff.
All right. Well, thanks for joining. Again, you're all invited back next Monday. And remember, anybody is actually welcome to join us on screen. So we have 10 seats at this roundtable discussion, and there are some weeks that we do have 10 people on the screen. So that's why we share the link from time to time. So give that some thought for next Monday. If you'd like to participate in a live discussion, if you're new to YouTube and you haven't live streamed before and you'd like to get your feet wet, you're welcome to do that right here on this program. Join us on screen. You also have the ability to restream it to your channel, so you have a copy of the video on your channel when you're done, and that's that. So yeah, there we have a comment here. Thank you, Bob, Jeff, and David. Yes, and Paul. Paul bailed a little bit ago, but he's with us every Monday, and hangs in there as long as he can before his battery or his signal taps out. So we thank Paul for being on screen too. So everybody have a good week. We'll be back next Monday with an interesting topic. And between now and then, remember, you can join us on carnivoretalk.com and enjoy the discussion there. So thank you, everybody. We really appreciate you and hope that you continue to do well with your diet and health goals. So God bless. Have a good night.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.